Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of what if Deku became the world's weakest hunter? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. Over 10 years ago, a series of gates linking the world to an alternate dimension appeared. The other side of each gate teemed with bizarre creatures called magic beasts, immune to conventional weaponry. Those who have awakened the abilities necessary to fight these beasts are called hunters. Based on the amount of magical power contained within their bodies, they are ranked in descending order as S, A, B, C, D, or E rank. However, once these powers have awakened, no amount of individual effort can ever result in greater strength. Present day. At a construction site, many hunters were present, chatting with each other. A blue jacket man was standing near the tea vendor, watching them as the vendor gave him his tea. "Good luck with today's raid," said the vendor. The man smiled and took the cup. "Thank you," said he. He sipped his tea from it when he heard a familiar male voice, calling out to him. "Hey, Kim." A man with weird hairstyle and green jacket with a bag and a sword walked up to him, smiling. "Been a while," said the man. The man, now named as Kim, smiled brightly. "Hey, if isn't Park. What are you doing here? I thought you said you'd had enough hunting," said he. The man, now named as Park, chuckled. "That was before my wife got pregnant with our second kid." "Makes sense. If the raid goes well, you'll be raking it in," said Kim. "I'm pretty nervous, though," Park said while nodding. "It's been so long that I dunno if I'm still in good enough shape. Not like I was that strong to begin with." "Hey, it's Midoriya," one of the men called out. A young man with boyish face, for freckles on each cheek spaced out to shape like a diamond and green messy hair walked in through the gate. He was wearing a sky blue tracksuit and track pants with white stripes. He was wearing a dirty yellow backpack. On his arms were white gauntlets and white gloves. Both of his cheeks were bandaged. "Hey guys," said Midoriya, smiling awkwardly at the men. "Pleasure to work with you guys again." "Hey, Midoriya," Kim called out to the boy. "You eat before coming in?" "Yeah. I got a proper meal. Thanks for asking, Kim-sen." Midoriya walked away. Park leaned onto his friend while watching the young man walk away. He was curious about him. "What's with this Japanese guy? Is he a big deal?" "Everyone saying hello?" asked Park. Kim chuckled, watching Midoriya get greeted by the other members of the team. "Quite the opposite, actually. He joined up after you quit, being a former teacher. His nickname is the weakest hunter of all mankind, alongside the softest heart to ever exist." "Weakest? Not strongest?" asked Park, surprised. "Nope. Like, a trip through an E-rank gets landed him in the hospital," said Kim. "He might be the weakest hunter there is." "Out of everyone? He's that bad?" asked Park, surprised. "So as a rule, you can assume any raid he gets called in for will be pretty easygoing," said Kim. "I see," said Park, nodding while smiling. "What about his other nickname?" "He tends to get emotional sometimes when situations are bad, or when someone gets injured," answered Kim. "You can say he's kind of like a school kid." "He does look like one though," said Park. "How old is he?" "Believe it or not, he's 24 years old," chuckled Kim. "Kid's got that longevity look on him. Anyway, I'd hate for him to overhear us, so let's leave it at that." Midoriya walked around the place, sighing to himself, having overheard them. "Thought about that too soon, huh? Well, who am I to stop them from speaking the truth?" "Ah, Izuku, you're hurt again." Midoriya flinched, looking up to see a brown-haired lady walk up to him. She had blue eyes, and she was wearing a red coat along with a bag hanging down to her side. And she had an annoyed look on his face. Juhi-sen, looks like we'll be working together again." Midoriya gave an awkward smile. "Never mind that. What happened to your face?" the girl, now named Juhi, asked with an annoyed face. "The usual," Midoriya chuckled awkwardly. "You reckless idiot." Juhi muttered, annoyed. "You really need to be more careful." The duo sat down on a nearby bench inside the construction site, right underneath the new building in making. Deku and Ju-hee were good friends from the day they met, but the latter was always exasperated at how much of an idiot the former is. I heard you even ended up in the hospital, said Ju-hee. Midoriya sighed. Trust me, the hospital bed and me are great friends. Anyway, it was an E-rank dungeon, so I was the only hurt. Wasn't there a healer? Asked Ju-hee. Everyone else was higher ranked, so they didn't think to bring a healer along. Midoriya answered. Ju-hee looked angry. Are you serious? They were only thinking of themselves. That's awful, said she. Being a really nice girl, she hates it when people do not care for the weaker people. And as a healer herself, she gets offended too. Midoriya smiled bitterly while continuing, It's fine. It's my fault I can't do anything besides running around the place. You know how I am, Ju-hee-san. I'm used to it by now. Ju-hee sighed, looking concerned. She knew exactly what kind of a person Izuku was, and how bad his luck was. Midoriya looked up to see everyone gathering around the gate, signaling it was a time. Looks like we're heading in already. Come on. A man with brown hair and blue dress with big collars stood near the gate. I'll be your humble leader for this raid outing. The name's Song Cheol, said the man, now named Song Cheol. It's a pleasure. Yeah, that makes sense. Mr. Song's got the most skills out of anyone here. It's a relief to have him in charge. Midoriya smiled at Song and bowed while speaking up. It's a pleasure to be working with you, Song-san. Song Cheol nodded as he looked at the others and said, All right. Is everyone ready? Let's head in. The construction gate protecting the portal gate was opened by Song as everyone started walking into the portal. Midoriya and Ju-hee looked at the portal when Kim patted the former's shoulder. Hey, Midoriya, said Kim, going inside. Try to hang in there behind us and don't get injured this time. Ju-hee smiled at Midoriya. Let's give our best. The girl went inside the portal as Izuku stared at it, before looking at his arm gauntlets. The white gauntlets were worn down a lot and there were several cracks in them. Gauntlets with almost no magic power behind them. Izuku sighed, and they were all I could afford here in Korea. Japan's yen is a lot behind Korea's currency. Welp, it's at least better than nothing at all. Midoriya shook his head, readied himself and walked into the portal. He was ready to see through this raid, not letting his E-rank status hinder him at all. Izuku was panting hard while holding a diamond-shaped stone in his bloodied hand. He smiled at it while panting. A dead goblin was behind him, lying on the ground. I finally got one, said he, putting it in his bag. Izuku! Ju-hee called out as Midoriya quickly jumped away, narrowly dodging a goblin's attack with a sword of its size. The goblin continued to try and hit him as the young man continued to dodge to the sides. Getting an opening finally, he clenched his fist and smashed hard onto the goblin's face, breaking at least the nose. The goblin, in his pain, released his sword on the ground. Midoriya looked at it for a second. It's better than his strong human yet feeble punches to monsters. He took it up quickly and pierced it onto the goblin's face, killing it instantly. So these guys aren't immune to their own weapons, said Midoriya as he pulled out the sword. Guess I got my second on dash. Suddenly, another goblin came and slashed him from behind, causing him to crash onto the wall in front in pain. The monster's sword got stuck on his back, making him grunt in pain. Izuku, yelled out Ju-hee in worry. Don't worry. Move aside, Ju-hee. Park ran towards the goblin and hit it on the torso with his heavy sword, knocking it away onto the wall. Midoriya grunted as he pulled out the sword from behind and collapsed on the ground, grunting in pain. Very few droplets of blood were coming out. I'm heading to the next magic beast, said Park. Ju-hee, look after Midoriya. Park went away as Ju-hee nodded and knelt down beside Midoriya. You're going to be okay. I promise I'll heal you, said Ju-hee as she put both of her hands on his back. A yellow glow occurred as the injury started to heal slowly. Midoriya sighed in relief as he opened his eyes to see the others fighting easily with the monsters. Minutes later, the group managed to beat the final monster, a giant wolf beast, the finishing blow being dealt by Song Cheol himself with a flame magic of his. The others celebrated their triumph. All right. We beat the dungeon boss. That's Mr. Song for you. We did it, Midoriya continued to stare at them from the sidelines while getting healed by Juhi. He sighed. Just my luck. Izuku, you're not staying on as a hunter just because you're stubborn, right? Asked Juhi, her eyes hidden by her hair. If you keep this up, it's only a matter of time until something much worse happens. You hurt your backside and your legs. Even though you're wearing these protective vests and compression sleeves beneath your tracksuit, you're still injured. Midoriya sighed. I try to keep on taking precautions and wear things which can protect my body even a little bit better. I know it's not enough, but it's still better than nothing at all. Still, I am sorry though. I don't want an apology. I'm worried about you, exclaimed Jui, frustrated and worried. Gomen. Midoriya apologized again as he looked at the other team members collecting their loot. You keep on forgetting you don't have many friends here in Korea after shifting from Japan. You have to be careful a lot, said Juhi, continuing to heal him. Hi, said Midoriya. Have you all collected your loot yet? Asked Song as the members collected their loots. Kim looked disappointed. As much as we could, at least, said he. There's not much in the way of mana crystals here either. Joined in Park, we're not gonna earn much at this rate. Midoriya sighed. It's over, he thought to himself as he clutched onto his essence stone, and all I have to show for it is this E-rank essence stone and the other one I haven't collected yet from that other goblin. Hardly worth dying for, but I guess that's my life now. Juhi looked at him, concerned about his mental and physical state before one of the members called out to the team. Hey, take a look at this. The team members got towards where the member pointed at. It was a dark cave which stretched into nothingness. No light that was shown into the entrance could go beyond and light up the path ahead. A cave? Some kind of tunnel? It seems to go pretty far. A double dungeon, huh? Said Song Cheol. I'd heard rumors before, but we beat the dungeon boss, but there's no sign of it shutting down, said one of the female members. Yeah, I thought that was strange, said another female member. Which means? Park smiled. Yeah, there's more loot to be found down here, said Kim, completing his friend's sentence. Song Cheol turned towards the group. Listen up, everyone, said he. When encountering unexpected cases like this, standard procedure is to wait for orders from the Hunters Association. Hang on a sec, Mr. Song, called out Kim. Doesn't that mean that the new guys are gonna hog all the good stuff? It's still part of a D-rank dungeon. It should be fine, right? Said Park. Kim pointed at his friend and said, he's got another kid on the way. And we didn't find many mana crystals. It'd be okay to bend the rules a bit, wouldn't it? Or no? I understand how you feel, said Song, but the fact remains that it'd be a risk. Let's take a vote. I dunno. I'm in. I say no. No. Let's check it out. Same. Yeah. I don't think so. I say we go, said Park. Likewise, said Kim. Sorry, but I don't want to, said Ju, slightly scared. That makes 6 in favor, 6 against, said Song as he looked at Midoriya. You're the only left, Izuku. What do you think? Me. Midoriya looked surprised as he thought for the moment. Ever since I took up the job as a caretaker and hunter while shifting from Japan, I have been barely able to provide either for myself or for the Sung family. The only person who paid my wages and was the income of the house, Mrs. Sung, is in bad shape and it has heavily affected the financial situation of both the family and me. I need the money for myself, for Mrs. Sung's treatment and to continue sending young Jaina to college. I really need it. Midoriya gripped his essence stone as he looked at the team. I vote yes. But, on one condition, said he. Song Cheol looked surprised. Condition? What is it? Asked he. We take a 15-minute break first. All of us need to get back some of our energy to get ready for the next one, said Midoriya. Kim chuckled. Kid, just because you're tired doesn't mean we are too, said he. It's not that. We need to be in peak condition for better performance, said Midoriya. Now Midoriya, don't you want the rewards too? Asked Park, trying to coax him. Who knows? Maybe you'll be able to get some more for yourself to dash. I won't vote then, said Midoriya, interrupting him. Either we stay for 15 minutes and ready ourselves or we don't go inside. Simple as that. Park grumbled as he looked at Song. Why are we even having opinion of this weak ear-rank guy? Do you even want your second child to see who the father is? Asked Midoriya. He wasn't joking at all. If there was one thing he took seriously, it was death. After all, he has faced many situations similar to it countless times. If something bad happens, I am not going to go home with guilt weighing my conscience. Park blinked, looking surprised at the sudden bring up as Song Jiol spoke. He's right. He's not opposed to going, but we need rest too. It's a good thing. We will be able to form strategies in the meantime too. Park sighed. Fine. But not more than 15 minutes, said he. Midoriya sighed as the members sat down on the ground and rested a bit. He went to one of the dead goblins and picked up its sword. Juhi followed him, hands crossed behind her back. What are you going to do about it, Izuku? Asked Juhi. Midoriya chuckled as he twirled the sword around his hand. I will be using this sword. It may not be the best, but it's good enough to cut through goblin-level enemies, better than my human punches at least. I am decent with my hands, but weapons are better. I might as well take a few of the swords. With that, Midoriya started picking up the goblin swords and put them in his bag while the girl watched him from behind. Despite being weak, his brain was on par with many S-rank hunters. He had great experience using his surroundings for advantage. You want one, Juhi-san? It'd be great for self-defense, said Midoriya. Juhi shook her head and smiled. It's fine. I am a healer after all, said she. Midoriya shrugged as he collected the swords. Statuses don't really matter at all when it comes to these kinds of stuff, said he, collecting the essence stone from the other dead goblin he killed. Meanwhile, out in the city, two robbers snatched a bag from a woman and sped through the streets on their scooty. They turned around the corner when the driver noticed a tall lady standing in the middle of the road. She had blonde hair and a pink cap on. Move. Or do you want to get run over? Yelled the driving robber. In an instant, the lady disappeared and flipped into the air over them, showing her gracefulness as she snatched the bag back from them, her cap falling on the ground as a result. She landed calmly as the robbers fell down on the ground, having lost their balance on the scooty. She went and picked up her pink cap back from the ground. The woman the robbers had stolen from before came there, relieved. Excuse me, said the woman. Here, said the tall lady, giving her bag back to her. Thank you. Thank you so much, said the woman. That's Chahayan. Chahayan. The S-rank hunter. The tall lady soon got surrounded by a large crowd of people who were great fans of her, all having excited smiles on their faces. Oh, Dimon. It's really her. This is awesome. I am a huge fan. Can I shake your hand? The tall lady, now identified as Chahayan, got a bit nervous. Excuse me. She pulled her cap down towards her eyes, covering them as she jumped in the air, landing on top of a nearby light pole and then on the rooftop of the nearby building. Look at her go. That's an S-rank hunter for you. Chahayan flipped over to the building beside the one she was on and sped away, disappearing from the sight and escaping her fans. Back at the cave. How long's it been since we entered the cave? About 40 minutes. The gate shouldn't close until an hour after the boss is beaten, so we'll have 20 minutes to spare. Midoriya and Juhi walked behind the group. The greenette put his swords in his bag. He had picked up 4 of them, so he can use 2 at once and the other 2 are spares. He looked at Juhi and bowed slightly while walking. Juhi-san, gomenasai. Apologized Midoriya. About what? Asked Juhi. She was now used to Midoriya's Japanese insert into his speech. He had obviously learnt English and Korean, but he tends to slip back into his mother tongue. She could somewhat make out whatever he says to her in Japanese. Mostly a few words. It's because I voted yes that we're searching for the boss now, said Midoriya. I know how much scared you are. Juhi sighed while continuing to walk. You don't need to worry about me, so stop it, said she. Midoriya looked at her in silence and looked down on the ground while continuing to walk. You aren't okay? Right I am not, exclaimed Juhi, looking at him, frustrated. Have you already forgotten? Your vests and compression sleeves can't protect you much anymore. You're just lucky your back was all that was injured. You are too much reckless. This is insane. Gomen. Midoriya apologized again, thinking to himself, it's true that Juhi, someone who is a B-rank healer, has saved me more than once. This was the only time she didn't had to overexert herself on me. Do you really understand the problem here? Asked Juhi. Yeah, said Midoriya, I understand it quite well. However, I can't just simply leave it to. The rewards, no matter how much meager, are still rewards. Juhi sighed. Fine, who am I to reject you? She grumbled before turning to her other side, a small blush on her cheeks. Well, in that case, maybe you should treat me to show your gratitude. Midoriya was surprised, his cheeks tinting pink. What? Not every day someone asks him to treat them, especially a female. Or what? Asked Juhi, annoyed a bit. You don't like the thought of taking me out to eat? No. Sure, why not? We are friends after all. Midoriya smiled awkwardly, not used to talking with girls like this one. And he definitely couldn't say no after seeing Juhi's pout. That's a one-in-a-million sight. He might have to put off saving for himself for the time being. We're here. It's the boss chamber. The group stopped in front of a giant, white-colored door. It was decorated with a gold design on it. It was far taller than anyone could expect, as high as a multiple-story building. Rare to see an actual door on one of these. It's kind of intimidating. Well, I'm going in, said Kim, walking towards it. No way am I going back empty-handed now. Same here. Let's go in. Team moves. Forward. That was the call, right, Leader Song? Asked Park. Song nodded, holding a fire to light up the place by his flame magic. Yeah, that's right. He walked towards the door, intending to open it. Midoriya, however, looked more worried than determined. Something's wrong. This isn't how a D-rank dungeon is supposed to look like, if they assumed it was connected to the other D-rank dungeon. He has been in many E-rank and D-rank raids and none of them were close to this one. Juhi noticed his worried look. Izuku? What's wrong? She asked. Midoriya didn't answer her and instead called out to Song. Mr. Song. Something's not right. Song turned back at him and looked surprised. What do you mean, Midoriya? Asked he. Don't you think this door is a bit too much royal and elegant looking and too big to be a part of a D-rank dungeon? Asked Midoriya. Like, you yourself must have participated several C and D-rank raids. Surely you can see the difference? Song Chiyol blinked and looked back at the giant door. You're right. This looks way too much different for it to be a part of a D-rank double dungeon, said he. He had visited many C-rank raids in his life, so the extreme difference was more obvious now that the Japanese hunter pointed it out. It was the same with Juhi as well, who had also visited many D-rank and E-rank raids. She is usually scared, but even she is aware of her surroundings. Now that her friend pointed it out, the place definitely was nowhere close to what she is familiar with. Park groaned. Leader Song, you're now listening to whatever useless thing he is saying. We really need to earn money. Midoriya, how about you drop your paranoia and let us go forward? I can't provide for my upcoming child if this continues, said he. Midoriya wanted to say something but decided to let it be, clenching his fists. His gut was still telling him something's not right. It's fine, kid. We'll be fine, said Kim, and besides, running away is always an option. It's okay, Midoriya. I'll take responsibility for anything that happens inside, okay? Said Song Chiyol, going towards the door. Song Chiyol then opened the giant door, which was surprisingly easy to open even though it looked heavy to even budge for the size of a human. Inside, the torches lit up with blue flames on the walls. There were many giant statues standing around the circular room. All of them were knights of old ages. The group walked inside. Hey, the place lit up. Dig the atmosphere. I've never seen a dungeon like this before. They looked around the place. The statues were quite big in size. And the details on them as medieval knights were quite prominent, with their armors, weapons, and instruments. What's with these statues? They look quite old. And some have instruments. Midoriya, meanwhile, was staring at the one positioned right in the center wall of the room. He looked surprised. It was much bigger than all the other knights. It had a crown on its head and had the look of some sort of pharaoh. This one's way bigger than the rest, said Midoriya to himself, A sort of ruler, maybe? Demon, that's huge. What is it supposed to be? There's something creepy about it. One of the members looked around the place. Gotta say, I'm not seeing any beasts, said he. Good point. Not a single one. Song Chiyul noticed the design on the ground. He walked closer to it and knelt down, touching it. What is this? A magic circle? He muttered. Mr. Song. Something's written over here. The members showed him a statue holding up what seemed to be a sort of clay tablet like the ones used by old Babylonia. In the ancient script? Let's take a look. Song went and leaned onto it. The commandments of the Kartanon Temple. First, revere God. Second, praise God. While Song Chiyul continued to read the script, Ju-hee, who had her back turned towards them, griped Midoriya's sleeve and tugged it, trying to get his attention. Izuku, called out Ju-hee as the greenette turned to her. She looked scared while staring at the king's statue Midoriya was watching earlier. Third, prove your faith to God. Ju-hee pointed at the king's statue, making Midoriya look at it. That big statue, I saw its eyes move. It's been watching us. Those who do not follow these laws. Are you sure? Looks the same to me, said Midoriya. Will not leave alive? A big crashing sound was heard, surprising the group as they looked at the source. It was the giant doors closing in with a crash, shutting off any way of exit or entrance and trapping the group inside. Song and Midoriya widened their eyes, alarmed now. Hey! The door just shut. But why? Are we trapped in here now? One of the members pushed away the other members and moved towards the door, angry and frustrated. This is what I was worried about, said the man. You guys didn't take this seriously and now look. Why is that Japanese guy always taken so lightly? Fucker had almost died for God's sake. We never should have come this way. I'm leaving. You can have the treasure or whatever else you find in here. He touched the door, intending to leave, not noticing the statue right beside him moving. Song noticed it and got alarmed. Get away from there. Song yelled, but to no avail. The man looked to his side too late, when the blade swung through him hard, slashing his shoulders to his face and detaching his body from it, getting killed brutally. The blood splattered all over the door. A few drops stained the blade of the statue as the body fell down, staining the door even more with the blood. Park and Kim looked distressed, while Midoriya and Ju-hee looked shocked and horrified. The Japanese hunter was beyond horrified, if there's a rank for it. No! One of the female members yelled and fell down on the ground. Are you kidding me? They moved. Are we supposed to fight those things? Midoriya continued to stare in shock at the corpse near the door, the statue which killed it standing back up to its original position as Ju-hee grabbed onto Midoriya's shoulder and buried her face into it, shivering, too scared to even look around. The man who just died, Ichi, was a D-rank. Midoriya thought to himself, still shocked, and he was, in just an instant, then was I right all along? This wasn't a D-rank dungeon. Song Chiyul looked shocked as he stared at the statues. If these statues are moving, then that means, his eyes widened. Remembering Ju-hee's call out earlier, Midoriya turned behind shakily to see the king's statue. Panted hard, realizing what was going to happen. And for the first time in his life, he didn't want it to be right in his assumptions, when suddenly, the king's statue's eyes moved downward, causing the greenette to widen his eyes. I've been on the doors of death many times. The abyss has always stared at me. In my first raid ever, I was separated from the others, getting stranded. I have been hospitalized by E-rank beasts many times. There were times I starved to death too, or ran out of water in raids. It has always been my life, fighting for my life even when everything was low-ranked. This wasn't something I was used to when I was a teacher back home. Hunters buy gear with the cash they make from selling the essence stones. This helps them take down even stronger monsters and reap bigger rewards. The only thing I managed to buy at the cheapest price were the gauntlets. They were great at protection for a low ranker like me. There was a knife available too, but its low power and no defense could have hindered me a lot. However, my gauntlets aren't invulnerable, since they came cheap. If they break, I'll have to fight barehanded with no defense. This is the reason my eyes always keep on looking for opportunities which can benefit me even a little. That's why I killed the goblin with its own sword. I know the risk outweighs the rewards, but even so, maybe this was the reason why I could tell. Get down now. Midoriya yelled out to everyone. The king's statue blasted out a huge beam of fiery light, shooting towards the group. One of the members got caught in the crossfire and instantly vaporized. The other members quickly dodged away, escaping the fire barely by the skin of their teeth. Midoriya pushed Juhi onto the side, both of them falling down and escaping the beam. Some of the members regained their consciousness and screamed out in fear, seeing the burnt path and the burnt-up hand of the member who got killed. What the hell? Nobody mentioned this. What is going on here? How should I know? You alright? Asked Kim to his friend. Yeah. How about you, Kim? Asked Park. I'm fine, answered Kim. Midoriya meanwhile slowly got up from Juhi and looked at his friend, who was clutching her ears in fear. No more, cried out Juhi. Jason, don't worry. Nothing will happen to you, said Midoriya, himself unsure, trying to comfort her and patting her shoulders as he looked around the place. What is happening here? How is this possible? Are we trapped? Is there really no way out? He looked at the king's statue with big eyes in fear, watching the glowing eyes of the statue. It was as if death was again staring at him, but this time with an actual declaration that no, he wasn't going to escape its gates again. It was going to make sure the Japanese hunter knows even his brilliant survival instincts can be challenged. Do we die here? Midoriya continued to look at the king's statue in horror. What even is that thing? Let's get out of here. Wait, you might get killed too. Then what are we supposed to do? Is there no other way out? How the hell am I supposed to know? 2 of us already died. Song Cheol called out to his team, nobody move. If you do, it'll attack again. All the members, hearing that, instantly stayed wherever they were, not moving much. Midoriya looked at the scared Juhi and shook her a bit. Juhi-san, please, stay with me. He tried to comfort her. That was a close one, said Song as he moved towards them. If you hadn't noticed what was happening, we'd all be dead. Midoriya blinked in confusion. What? Didn't you yell because you'd figured it out? Asked Song. No, sir. It's just, my brain told me it seemed dangerous enough, replied Midoriya, when he widened his eyes. Mr. Song, your arm. The said man had his left arm missing. Blood stained the sleeve where the arm was previously present. If I grit my teeth, it's not too bad, said Song, clutching it tight. Can you stop the bleeding though? Midoriya nodded. He fished into his pocket and pulled out a roll of bandage. He then tied it around the torn-off stump tightly to stop the blood from bleeding out anymore. I was hoping to ask Juhi, but... Song looked at the poor girl who was still lying down, scared. She doesn't handle pressure well. That's why she takes up the easy raids, despite being a B-rank healer. It's fine. Not everyone is born equal, said Midoriya. It's completely okay to be scared. You're too mature even for a 24-year-old man, said Song as he looked up at the statue. I've been through 2 or 3 B-rank dungeons myself, and that might be an A-rank foe, or even S. Midoriya finished tying up the stump as he nodded. He also has a feeling this might be a S-rank dungeon they have stumbled upon. Sure, all of his low-ranked raids feel quite tough, but even his bodily instincts can tell that this is an actual fatal threat. Something not even his amazing survival instincts can fight against. Death was now finally going to show him its true power. The commandments of the Kartan Temple written on that tablet, said Song. First, revere God. Second, praise God. Third, prove your faith to God. Those who do not follow these laws will not leave alive. Midoriya looked back at the king's statue and frowned. So the god. It's that emperor statue, isn't it? Asked he. Unfortunately, said Song, that thing is too strong to fight. Let's collect ourselves and search for a way out of here. It won't be Dash. I'm not just gonna die in here. One of the members spoke up, getting ready to power as the members looked at him. I finally managed to land a contract with a major guild. The man glowed red for a second before he got surrounded by a windy aura. I can't afford to bite it like this. What are you doing? You mustn't move, another member called out. I can pull this off. I'm pretty confident in my speed, replied the man, eyes sharp. With an explosion, the man shot forward towards the door with blitzing speed. However, that speed wasn't enough, as within a microsecond, the eyes of the god statue glowed up again and shot a fiery beam at him, instantly vaporizing him, leaving behind only his dismembered legs behind. The group members cried out in horror. Demenit. Midoriya just grimaced as he looked back at the god statue. He couldn't save any life here. He's literally powerless. That thing can end us in a second if it felt like, said Midoriya. Too easily. Almost as if it was squashing bugs, said Song. But why isn't it trying to kill us now? Asked Midoriya. Song thought about it. There's something weird about this one as compared to other beasts, which attack on sight. It's as if it is following a sort of pattern or something, said he. Midoriya wondered what was happening when he remembered something. It was earlier from the time Juhi had first pointed out the statue's eyes moved. Mr. Song, what were the commandments you read out that time? Asked Midoriya. HM? Oh, the first one was to revere God, replied Song. Revere God, to worship God? Midoriya muttered as he looked at the god statue. I am going to do something. Everyone, don't move unless I say. Song got alarmed as he watched the boy stand up slowly. What the hell are you doing? I am not sure, but if I'm correct then. Midoriya very slowly stood up. Kid, you're gonna die. Sit back, Dao Dash. Song became silent as he watched Midoriya's eyes stare back at the abomination, not flinching or blinking anymore. So in the end, that's the real Yuha? Still not giving up even in the most horrible situations. Midoriya slowly stood back up. He continued to eye the statue back, not blinking at all. After waiting for something to happen, he narrowed his eyes. The god statues glowed again, almost ready to vaporize the boy down, when Midoriya knelt down again while not breaking eye contact with the statue. The glow died down instantly. So that's it, said Midoriya. Everyone, bow down towards the statue like one does for a god. Bow our heads? Asked Park confusedly. What the hell are you talking about? Asked Kim, annoyed. Did you figure something out? Asked Song. Yes. It has a threshold for at what height a person can lift their heads before getting targeted, said Midoriya. The commandments. It wants us to follow the commandments. And we start by bowing down, our heads low. It shouldn't attack us. Are you sure about this? Asked Song as Izuku knelt down and touched the ground with his forehead. For now, replied Midoriya. In that case, all the others followed suit and bowed beside Midoriya towards the statue of the god, following the Japanese man's request. They waited for anything to happen. This is gonna save us? This is all it takes. Kim was frustrated. They waited and waited, till the glow of the statue's eyes died down. Suddenly, the corners of its mouth curled up and it gave the most creepiest grin in existence, scaring the group again. That's freaky as hell, thought Park, looking at it. Its expression changed. Does that mean the first one is complete? Thought Midoriya. For some time, there was pin-drop silence in the chamber. Nothing moved. Nothing happened. Park blinked as he slightly sat up. It's not doing anything, said Park as he slowly stood up. Hey, don't just get up, exclaimed Kim. Park didn't listen to him and stood up fully while all the others were still bowing. Nothing happened. There was no beam attack. It's not attacking anymore, exclaimed Park. Park sighed as he sat up. Is it really over? He asked. Are we safe now? Asked one of the two female members. All right, celebrated another member. We're saved. We can go home, said the woman. Midoriya, Juhi and Song stood up too. The greenette, however, didn't look pleased at all. In fact, he looked more uneasy than happy. There's still 2 more left to go, he muttered to himself. Suddenly, the statue started standing up from its throne. Its enormous weight shook the entire chamber with just mere movements. And it had the same creepy grin on. The members of the group were shocked, though Midoriya, Song and, unluckily, Juhi weren't. Midoriya looked more uneasy, while Ju-hee looked more scared. "I thought it was over," exclaimed Kim. Song Cheol looked at Midoriya in uneasiness. "Midoriya, what now? You surely have some kind of plan, right?" asked he. "Not that I know of," replied Midoriya, sweating. "One thing is confirmed. We have to follow every single commandments. Praise God. We have to do that." "Praise this giant?" asked Kim, shocked. "How are we supposed to do that?" asked Park. "Do I look like I know?" asked Midoriya. "We have to figure it out sooner. There's no later here. Let me give this a try." One of the members with long hair spoke up as he walked towards the statue. "As a dedicated student in ethnology, I have a few extollments in the back of my mind." The man knelt down in front of the giant god statue, which was still walking closer to them with the creepy grin and sinister look in its eyes. The man joined his hands together and closed his eyes as he started his chant. "O God, our great ruler who brings order to the world." "Is it working?" asked Kim as the god statue moved towards the praying man. "Looks like it's slowing down," said Park, unsure. The man continued praying to the god statue, which stood right in front of him. "Show us the path of truth." Midoriya continued watching the god statue. He then noticed its legs slightly moving as he widened his eyes and realized something. "Wait a second, this prayer?" He really hoped he was wrong, but it looks like not. "Thy will be done," the man continued to pray, not noticing the lifted stoned feet of the god statue. Midoriya yelled out, "Move away. That prayer is not for this god." The man who was chanting stopped instantly and looked up to see the foot raised up right above him. He froze in fear as the god's sinister grin widened. The foot instantly crushed him underneath, not letting him utter a single word anymore and silencing him forever. The members cried out in fear again, realizing that they were practically defenseless against such an adversity. All of them started running away. One of them was too scared to move. "Miss, please run away." Midoriya yelled as the woman looked at him too late. The god's statue crushed her beneath its feet, staining the ground with more blood. "Everyone, spread out," yelled out Song as everyone ran in different directions. Ju-hee didn't know what to do, when Midoriya grabbed her hand and dragged her with him. "Come with me. We can't stop here at all," Midoriya exclaimed as Ju-hee let him pull her with him. All of them did their best to spread out as much as they can. Kim and Park alongside the last female member ran towards the other statues. Park was trying his best to run away faster. "I can't die like this," yelled Park in his mind. "I've got a family waiting for me." Park went and stopped in front of one of the knight statues and turned around. "I should be safe over here, right?" he asked to the others, not noticing the statue moving behind him and raising its weapon in the air. "No, Park. Behind you," yelled back Kim. It was too late. The knight swung its sword down, slicing the man into two halves. His blood stained the knight's sword as the pieces fell down, sending him into the afterlife. "Park!" exclaimed Kim, horrified at his friend getting cut down. Meanwhile, Midoriya was running with Ju-hee getting dragged by him as he looked around the place, his eyes moving rapidly in his sockets. "Praise God, praise God." He rapidly thought the same thing over and over again. "There's literally nothing this abomination can be praised with. It's more of a devil." He looked behind to see Ju-hee crying as she ran with his pace while he continued to drag her away to escape. "Whatever happens, I can't let her get hurt at all," he said to himself as he looked back to the front. "I need to find the answer. There has to be something we are missing." His eyes rapidly went all over the entire chamber. All he could see were the torches lit by the blue flames and the gigantic statues of the medieval knights. Until he noticed something that was slightly different from the others. A very small change which normally any human won't notice in their panic. "Hold on a second." He narrowed his eyes as he looked at the statues. Why are there some statues with musical instruments? Are they not knights? True to that, there were several statues right between the knight statues where it was holding onto a musical instrument. One was holding a trumpet, another was holding a drum, etc. They were wearing a sort of cloak worn by medieval musicians. "Everyone, run to the statues with the musical instruments," He yelled out to his fellow team members as he changed his direction towards one statue with drums. "The musical instrument?" muttered Song as he went and stood in front of one of the statues, which was holding a trumpet. As he did, the eyes of the statue glowed blue and it started playing the trumpet. "Is it playing?" asked Song to himself, watching the trumpet being played as he turned to the remaining members. "Hey! The statues with the instruments won't attack." Midoriya started increasing his speed. He guessed it right. He saw Park killed by the night statue, but it did only when Park stood close to it. So that means if they stood near some of the statues with the instruments, the statues will play music instead of attacking. After all, that's what a normal musical instrument is used for. Kim went and stopped in front of one of the statues with a violin. The eyes glowed again, and the violin started to play. The man panted hard and fell on the ground, clutching his head as he cried. "In it all?" he said to himself. Midoriya meanwhile managed to reach one of the statues with drums while still grabbing Juhi, who was crying out. "Come on. Please play your music," he yelled to the statue. For some reason, the statue stood still, not playing the drum. Midoriya and Juhi looked at it in horror. "Does it not play if there are two people at the same spot?" The greenette thought to himself. "Juhi, you stay here. Don't move." With that, he left the crying girl in the spot and started running towards the last statue with the required instrument. Juhi looked at him in shock. "Izuku!" Juhi then noticed the eyes of the statue glowing up as it started playing the drum. The god statue meanwhile noticed the boy running and closed onto him faster, its legs stomping the ground and destroying it. Midoriya continued to run away. "I guess it's a good thing that even though I am not strong enough, I did train myself to at least reach high levels of normal human body," said Midoriya to himself as he continued running only slightly faster, his stamina going strong. "Guess running helps more for a weak hunter like me." At one stomp, Midoriya leaped to the side and managed to land near the feet of the statue he needed to go. He panted hard when suddenly, Song yelled out. "Not that one," he yelled out. Midoriya widened his eyes as he looked behind him to see a knight with a shield. Its eyes glowed. The statue he needed to go was beside this one. He quickly stumbled forward as the knight statue smashed its shield's edge down onto him. "No! Izuku!" yelled out Juhi in horror, tears continuing to flow out. "Please don't die." Back at the spot, Midoriya was still alive. He crawled forward towards the using both of his hands while gritting his teeth and grunting. Blood flowed down his face as the god statue loomed over him. "Not now, not now," he muttered to himself, eyes not blinking at all as he continued to move forward. "Not now." Gripping the ground, he pushed himself slightly up and lunged forward at the statue as the god statue stomped on the ground one last time. A few seconds later, the statue starts singing with an elegant voice, signaling it was the singer. The god statue removed its leg away as Midoriya sighed and looked up at the statue singing. "Couldn't you guys have replaced singing with normal prayers in the name of praise?" he asked to them in his mind, as if expecting answers. Despite that, the song sure felt soothing as well as a desperation one to his ears, perfectly fitting the current situation. He continued to stick close to the statue, glaring at the god statue. The god statue went back to its throne and sat down again. The chamber finally stopped shaking from its pressure as everyone released a big sigh of relief at once. Midoriya released a bigger sigh out and sat down, leaning his back against the singing statue. The second phase of the commandments has finally ended. "Izuku!" He called out as she ran to him and knelt down beside him. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, almost." Midoriya sighed. "Phew, I think we have passed one of the toughest rules." He then noticed at his leg and gasped, covering his mouth with her hands. "Oh my gosh, Izuku!" "Yeah? What's wrong?" The greenette followed her gaze and looked at his leg. Or at least, where his leg used to be. "Oh," was all Midoriya's answer as he followed his blood trail and saw his dismembered leg far away to where that shield statue was. "Your leg?" He was horrified. "Tich." Midoriya just sighed. What an annoying situation. A yellow sphere appeared around Midoriya's stump as he started healing him at an even higher rate. "It's fine," said Midoriya. "What are you saying?" I'm going to heal you, replied Jui. You need to save the last remaining energy for emergency dash. As if answering his question, he coughed up blood and a few droplets came down from her eyes. There goes our emergency. The others gathered around them. Song Cheol looked around the place, where multiple corpses and dismembered bodies remained. What a nightmare. It really is a bloodbath. He grunted and clutched his stump, still feeling the pain of his arm blown off from the earlier beam blast at the start by the statue god, even if it was bandaged by Midoriya. I count your arm as a casualty too, said Kim as he looked at the corpses, but you made a careless call as our leader. I guess it's just karma. That's awful, said the remaining female member. Kim, you were the one who dash. The other male member was interrupted by Kim. Hey, we all decided together, said Kim, and I remember how you voted. He's right. I was the one who made the call, said Song Cheol, accepting his fault. I'm responsible for everything that's hap-dash. Now's not the time for these things, said Midoriya while still sitting down. We can save all of this for later. Stop your quarrels for now. There's still one last commandment left. The room shook again as the left hand of the god statue was raised up with its palm opened up, as if it expected something to be given. The room continued to shake, small pieces of rubble falling down from the ceiling. What's happening now? An earthquake? Soon, multiple platforms stack on top of the other appeared right on top of the magic circle Song Cheol had observed earlier at the start. What's that? Asked Park. Midoriya squinted at the platform that appeared. Wait a sec, that's an altar, said he. Huh. All the other members of the group turned towards him, awaiting an explanation. It's a platform used for sacrifices to the deities in ancient times, said Midoriya. We have several old temples with these altars back in Japan too, even in the current age. He looked at the altar and then up at the god statue and back at the altar, nodding to himself. It's probably the third commandment. Prove your faith to God. We have to probably make a sacrifice to show our faith in that thing, unfortunately. Song Cheol furrowed his eyebrows. Even an idiot like me knows that move is probably the answer, he said, agreeing to Midoriya's statement. So we really have to offer up a sacrifice, isn't it, Midoriya? Said Kim. He pulled out his sword and held it near Song's throat, causing the said leader to freeze in his place. The other members gasped in shock and surprise. Kim-san, called out Midoriya. I saw a man who was bragging about his wife before we came in, her split down the middle, said Kim, not removing the blade. He and 6 others died. You said it yourself, didn't you? Well, time to take responsibility, leader. Kim-san, that's you dash. Midoriya was interrupted by the other member. You stay out of this, kid, retorted Kim. The Japanese hunter growled at him in response. Song Cheol sighed and finally accepted. Fine. Let me go myself. With that, the leader started walking silently towards the altar set in the middle of the magic circle. Midoriya frowned as he watched the man walk towards the altar. This was never his fault to begin with. The others pushed him to start the poll. The greenette thought to himself, we all voted to come here. It was our greed. The greed of the others had made him to suffer. Song Cheol went and stood near the altar inside the magic circle. Suddenly, a flame lit up on the white border of the magic circle. It was a normal-colored flame. What's happening now? Asked Kim. Song Cheol stared at the flame and then turned towards Midoriya. Midoriya, is there anything else I need to do? Midoriya had a confused and analytical look on his face as he frowned. That's weird. Altars require a sacrifice, the blood of the being. He continued to mutter to himself for a few seconds as the others stared at him, waiting for him to come up with some sort of explanation for the current condition or some plan as an alternative. Midoriya looked up at the duo in front of him. I'm sorry, but do you mind helping me over there? I'd like to examine it, said he. The duo looked at each other for a second before picking him up and started taking him towards the altar in the magic circle. He squinted at it, observing it all over. Just get me right next to it, please, said Midoriya. But then won't we? The man was interrupted by Midoriya. I don't think anything will happen, said Midoriya. The duo gulped and reluctantly took him towards the altar. They stepped into the magic concentric circle and stood right next to the altar. Soon, 3 more flames lit up. Midoriya looked around for a few seconds. "Did you figured something out?" asked Song Chiyol. "Not really," said Midoriya, his eyes looking at the orange flames, "but I think this altar has a sort of activation process requiring all people to stand near. Mr. Song, if we wait here, will rescue ever arrive?" "The gate will have been open for a week as of today," replied Song Chiyol. "The statues might start moving again before anyone comes for us." Midoriya mulled over the fact. It normally takes 7 days for a gate to open fully all the way. When that happens, it is called a dungeon break. Beasts of the dimension are then able to cross over to the other side, to the human side. That's why the other objective of a dungeon raid is to defeat the dungeon boss and shut the gate down completely before that time is up. Midoriya thought over the fact as he slowly looked at the god statue and frowned even more, sweating, which means if us 6 fail here, that thing will be able to enter our world. Midoriya shook his head. All of them had to succeed. They had to. He had to. There was a reason he wanted to be a hero as a hunter. How can he even hope to become one, if he can't stop this? "Could you 2 come over here, please?" asked Midoriya as he looked back at Juhi and Kim. "We need to start this up soon. We have to stop this dungeon from breaking ourselves. There's no other choice left." Juhi and Kim heard his determined plea. They knew what kind of a person he was, even while being a weak hunter. They nodded and stepped inside the circle, causing it to light up 2 more orange flames to match the numbers. Suddenly, electricity crackled in the altar and flew out towards the outermost border of the magic circle, creating blue flames now. The group were now surrounded by orange flames, which was now surrounded by blue flames. The door of the chamber finally opened, surprising the group. "The door's open," said Kim. "So, can we leave now?" asked the remaining female member. "Unless this is a trap," said Song. One of the blue flames died out as the outlines of the giant statues glowed. They then started moving towards the group in the center of the room beside the altar, shaking the ground and the entire chamber with their entire weight. "It doesn't sound good at all," said Song. "The statues are coming this way," exclaimed the other male member. "What do we do now?" "Why are they coming after us?" asked Kim. Midoriya blinked, noticing something weird. He looked at one statue, which stopped instantly. He then turned his head to another statue, which stopped too. The realization clicked in his mind. "Please no," yelled Jui, scared. "Jui-san, don't close your eyes," exclaimed Midoriya, understanding what they needed to do. "These guys stop on line of sight. They will move if you remove your eyes from them." Hearing that, all the members instantly opened their eyes wide and stared at the statues, watching some of them stop in their tracks. "Everyone, keep your eyes on the statues," said Midoriya, staring at a knight statue. The other female member of the group started to panic while staring at the knight statue. The glowing eyes and the menacing aura of the statue, even though it was stopped, was more than enough to finally snap her last thread of her sanity. "Ah!" The woman left Midoriya's left arm, making him tilt towards that side. She ran away from the place towards the door. "No! Please don't!" yelled Midoriya, but in vain. The instant the woman left the circle, one of the orange flames went out. She ran towards the door, which was now opened, and left the chamber. The group were now left inside with just 5 members, watching the statues. "What's going on here, Midoriya?" asked Song frantically. "The door closed a bit, but I think she made it out," said the other male member. Midoriya meanwhile had no idea what was happening anymore. The blue flames have been dying over time, meaning they must be some sort of countdown. One of the orange ones died out when that woman escaped, meaning it showed how many were present. He gritted his teeth. What is even happening now? Revere God, praise God and prove faith to him. Midoriya looked at the door again. Is it a trap? Is it causing a sort of false hope for escape? Purposely manipulating people into getting scared? That has to be it. Then, does that mean it's testing our faith in this abomination of a god? I can't do this," said the other male member holding up Midoriya. He pushed him away and ran towards the door, shocking Midoriya as he fell to the ground. "Jiango," called out Kim, but to no avail. Midoriya was shocked. He quickly adjusted himself and looked at the statues again to stop them from moving. Another of the orange flames died out. Watching Jiango run away tempted Kim to do the same as he took one step forward. "Please, don't you dare move, Kim-san," called out Midoriya, making the man freeze. "If you leave, we'll have blind spots." "What is happening here, Midoriya?" asked Song frantically. "Give us an explanation, damn it." "Look, sir, all I know is that as long as the statues are in our sight of vision, we'll be safe," exclaimed Midoriya, struggling to sit up with only his left leg. "The blue flames are a timer. When all dies out, we'll all make it out." "Isn't there a chance we'll be trapped in here once they go out too?" asked Song, skeptical of the situation. Midoriya gulped and said, "All I can say is, we need to have a last-minute positive mind." Kim suddenly spoke up. "I'll be honest, I didn't expect you, our weakest member, to pull off as much as you've managed. The only reason we're alive at all is thanks to you." Midoriya perked up as he continued to look at the statues. What do you mean, K. Kim-sen?" With that being said, Kim had tears out of his eyes. "I've got a family waiting for me. I can't die just yet. I want to make it home alive. I can't take any more of this. I'm sorry." He dropped his sword down as Midoriya was shocked. The man ran away, leaving the last three members to fend for themselves as the statues continued to close onto them. "Why?" Midoriya gritted his teeth, his eyes watering up as clenched his fist tightly. He shook his head, wiping his tears off quickly and staring back at the statues, switching his vision between each of the statues rapidly to keep them away. "Not yet. Not yet. The other two are still in trouble. They don't need to die yet at all. They have better lives ahead of the dash. The two of you should go." Song Cheol's voice snapped Midoriya out of his thoughts. "Mr. Song?" he asked to the man. "I think the doors will stay open as long as one of us remains here," said Song. "You two still have long lives ahead of you. You should go." "What? Have you gone insane from this situation?" asked Midoriya, horrified. If there was one thing he couldn't forgive himself to, it was failing to save a person right in front of him. "You may try to be a hero, kid, but you need to be alive for that too," said Song. Look after Midoriya for me." "All right." As soon as Ju-hee moved her body, she instantly fell to her knees. "No, oh no, no, for my legs, they have out on me." "You must have overexerted yourself healing Midoriya," said Song. Midoriya stayed silent. It was his fault too. He wasn't forceful enough to stop Ju-hee from healing him, and now they were paying the consequences. "Song-san, you take Ju-hee-san and leave this forsaken place," said Midoriya. "This might be the only way." "What the hell are you saying?" asked Song, shocked. "I just said I'm going to stay dash." "I might have considered that, if I didn't had one of my legs torn off," retorted Midoriya, watching the statues close in. "Hurry. They're almost near." "You can't, Midoriya. That makes me the useless one," said Ju-hee. She just couldn't believe what he was saying. Sure, she knew how much of a reckless boy he was and how much of a hero he wants to be, but this time, it was at the extreme side. "In that case, I'll Dash. I promised to treat you out for helping me back there, didn't I, Ju-hee-san?" said Midoriya as he smiled and gave her the only 2 essence stones he got. "Please have them to buy yourself dinner tonight. And when I get out of here, I'll come back for my change." "How can you even say dash?" Before Ju-hee could say anything, she got hit by Song on her neck, knocking her out instantly. "I'm sorry, but it looks like we really are out of time," said Song. Midoriya turned towards him and gave him a last smile. "Don't worry, Song-san. Everything will be fine. After all, I am here." So Cheol gave a sad nod to the boy as he picked up the girl on his shoulders and walked out of the circle. He left the chamber as 2 of the orange flames died out, leaving only one lit up, which was only Izuku Midoriya inside the forsaken place. He sighed and picked up the sword left by Kim before he ran away. "It's a good thing only I will have to die," said Midoriya to himself. "I haven't managed to do anything which may have made Mom proud of me. Maybe this will be the one she can be proud to show off to others. Besides, heroes do make life sacrifices anyway, don't they?" He readied the sword and looked at the statues closing onto him. "Well, I can at least try to take down one of you with me." One of the giant knight statues holding the sword swung it hard towards the boy, just barely missing him as Midoriya held on to his own sword. Another knight with a mace hit him, causing him to dodge it and roll away, not able to do much with his injured body and missing leg. I've always wanted to be a hero. Midoriya struggled to stand up as another knight with the axe got ready to slash him. I've been mocked for thinking so while being weak, over and over again. The knight swung its axe down at him as he gritted his teeth and turned around, ready to counter it with the sword. However, it was all in vain as his entire right arm flew up in the air, getting separated from his body brutally. His right side of his face got slashed down, though he still managed to dodge most of the damage. I tried to be stronger. Izuku continuously got hit by the Mace Knight statue as the timer blue flames continued to die out, but I couldn't. He fell against the altar, his right arm and right leg dismembered and his right side of his face slightly slashed. Blood was all that filled the magic circle and around the young man. I want to be strong enough, so no one else has to worry about me, the man panted in pain. He was surrounded by all the giant glowing knight statues. He tried to get up, only for the sword knight statue to pierce him directly through his torso, causing him to yell out in pain. Kim's crying face and his words came back to his mind. You couldn't take any more? You thought we were loving it? All that you did was justifying your own selfishness. Midoriya threw up a huge amount of blood as the knight had pierced his arm. You didn't even thought about the others. About how much in danger Mr. Song and Juhi-san would be in. You just wanted to be selfish to benefit. An image of his own mother back in Japan, Inko Midoriya, smiling at him, and then the Sung family, the family he has taken a job in caretaking the only child as his job but had grown close to, and lastly, the everyday tragedies of the civilians and hunters, appeared in front of his eyes. The fact that Mrs. Sung was in the eternal sleep disease and only the child remained, just hurt his heart even more. Come on, buddy, move. Midoriya yelled out in pain as he got lifted by the sword knight statue, who then threw him directly on top of the altar. It's a good thing, only I will die. At least that's the only heroic thing I could achieve. Nobody else deserves to die. He fell on top of the altar. His blood stained the entire platform, making his body lose almost 70 to 80% of the total blood volume. He continued to cough out blood. The sword knight statue got ready to slash the boy on top of the altar with its giant sword. While all of this was happening, only a single blue flame remained. Nobody else should die. Izuku's bloodied eyes looked at the knight, who got ready to kill him with just one swing of his sword as he gave a last smile. It's fine, heroes make sacrifices, after all, I win. The knight then swung down its giant at the young man on the altar, who just watched it come to him as he accepted his fate and awaited death to enshroud him. Meanwhile, the last, single blue flame disappeared. Jaya! Midoriya exclaimed as he sat up, panting hard. He sweated a lot as he took a deep breath and looked around. He was in a hospital room, wearing the hospital gown and lying on a bed. A hospital? Did I got rescued? He asked himself. He then quickly looked at his right arm to see it there. Except that it was covered with some scars. A bigger scar ran up on his arm up to his shoulder. And his fingers were slightly crooked. How is it back? Midoriya blinked, watching at his scars. It's completely intact, albeit with some changes. He then looked at the bulge under the sheets right beside his left leg, remembering his leg back at the dungeon being torn off horribly by that god statue which nearly crushed him. He sweated and quickly pulled away the sheet, to see that his leg was fine too. There was no trace of scars on both of his legs. It is intact too. Izuku then looked at his right side of his chest, where that knight statue with the sword had stabbed beside his arm. There's no sign of it either. Midoriya looked up at the ceiling. As much as I would like to call it a dream, these scars are proof that it did happen. The door slid open and in walked two men. One of them had blonde hair neatly combed with a single lock hanging on his forehead. The other had purple hair which was spiked up. Both of them were wearing black formal suits with golden button near their collars. The purple-haired man was carrying a white case as the blonde man looked at the young man with his left hand in his left pocket. Oh, I see you're awake. said the blonde-haired man as the purple-haired man closed the door behind. Hello. Midoriya blinked at the duo. The blonde-haired, neatly combed man walked towards him and pulled out a card, giving it to the young man on the patient bed. I'm Wu Jinshul, manager of the Hunters Association surveillance team, said the blonde-haired man, now known as Jinshul. I'm Kong Taeshik, said the purple-haired man, now known as Taeshik. Midoriya took the card and looked at it while noting the names of the two men who were standing beside his bed. Wu Jinshul, surveillance team manager. Telephone 10-765-4321-0987-654-32. Mobile 10-109-8765-4321-098-76. Jinshul.w@cha-mail.cdcd. Hunters Association. Nice to meet you too, sir, said Midoriya. What does someone from the surveillance want with me? For now, let's get your doctor in here, said Jinshul as Taeshik nodded. I was out for 3 days? Midoriya was shocked. Sure, he has spent a lot of time in hospital beds, but always regained consciousness. Within 1 to 2 days. This one seemed a bit too much. What about Juhi-san and Mr. Song? Are they okay? Yes, answered Jinshul, face turning solemn, although Song Chiul lost an arm and as a result, he may have to retire as a hunter. And Lee Juhi's been traumatized. She's undergoing psychiatric care. Given her condition, I'm not sure she'll continue as a hunter either. Midoriya widened his eyes before looking worried. He looked at his right hand, adorned with the scars. I somewhat expected that. She needs a lot of care. I won't blame her for becoming so much scared. I used to be like that too. Midoriya remembered all the things that happened at the double dungeon. The way how Park was cut into halves, how the woman and the long-haired man were crushed by the god statue. And last of all, its creepy grin. Jinshul nodded and continued, there were only 6 survivors of the double dungeon discovered on your expedition. A hunter's job is always a dangerous one, but it's rare to see such a tragic outcome. He then looked at the green-haired young man looking at his scarred hands with an analytical eye, narrowing them. And yet, somehow, when the White Tiger Guild arrived on the scene after being alerted by the survivors, all they found was you, Izuku Midoriya, collapsed on the ground. There were no traces of the temple or the statues the survivors described. Wait, what? Midoriya was surprised. How? Unbelievable, isn't it? Said Jinshul, looking at the surprised young man. If there had been the slightest inconsistency between their reports, or if some of the deceased's remains hadn't been found on the scene, it would have cast a suspicion onto your group instead. He stood up and walked to the side, looking out of the window at the daylight. The presence of those scars on your arms and on your face are obvious proofs that maybe there was indeed the double dungeon connected. Izuku nodded when he realized something. Hold on a second, scar on my face? Asked he. Taeshik replied nonchalantly, you got a scar there too. Didn't notice? Midoriya blinked and used his right hand to feel his own face. He then moved it over his right cheek, where there he could feel a rugged scar down to his chin. Jinshul turned towards him. Look for yourself. Jinshul turned on the selfie mode of the camera of his mobile phone and gave it to him, who took it and looked at himself. There was indeed a rugged scar on his right cheek, which ran down to his chin. It removed the 4 freckles from his cheek. He also noticed that his right side of his head was shaven off into an undercut, his bald scalp almost visible. This is the first time I have seen myself get so much scarred. Midoriya continued to look at himself as Taeshik just stared at him, bored. To be honest, resumed Jinshul as he turned towards Midoriya, this is just speculation on our part, but, Izuku Midoriya, have you experienced a second awakening? Midoriya widened his eyes. A hunter's power is determined upon awakening, which stays fixed from that point on. But, there are rare occasions where a hunter will go through what is known as a second awakening. It lets them exceed their previous limits and rise to A or even S rank. But did he reawaken too? That'd be so cool. Taeshik went and put down on a wooden tray a gold-colored pyramid-shaped artifact, which had cyan designs on it. It was surrounded partially by a gold-colored band. On top of the pyramid was a purple-colored diamond-shaped stone fitted on. "This is a manometer," said Taishik. "Please place your hand over it." Midoriya nodded and placed his right scarred hand over it, though not without noticing that Taishik's voice sounded familiar. Too familiar, but he has no idea where he heard that. Same with Jinchul too. Jinchul stared at the young man putting his hand on the manometer as he thought, if they really ran into insta-kill-level magic beasts, like the survivors said, then there's no way a low-level hunter could have survived with just minor scars. And for not even a trace to remain of said beasts would imply the presence of an A-rank or maybe even S-rank hunter. The most likely explanation is that Izuku Midoriya underwent a second awakening. He then looked at the remote display connected to the manometer which Taishik was holding up and looking at. It showed off a score of 9 on screen. Both the men looked at it in silence. "What does it say, Mr. Jinchul?" asked Midoriya. "Did I reawakened?" Jinchul sighed and replied, "My apologies. I'm afraid we may have been mistaken." Midoriya nodded, realizing that maybe he indeed didn't get reawakened at all. Taishik turned off the manometer and put it back into the case. Jinchul and Taishik then walked out of the room. They then walked down the corridor in silence. "Even E-ranks usually manage higher than 70, said Taishik. "He's basically just a civilian." "The dungeon has vanished and can't be explored again," thought Jinchul. "So how did he survive?" Taishik walked alongside Jinchul. He couldn't help but feel irritated at the voice of Midoriya for some reason. As if that sound was made to be hated by him and he cannot explain why. Back at the room, Midoriya sighed. "I should stop getting my hopes high," said he to himself. He then lied back on the bed and looked up at the ceiling. I wonder why they didn't ask about that. In his vision, near the ceiling was what seemed to be a notification panel. It had a turquoise border and a sort of fancy designs combined with black as the background. Notification. You have unread messages. Maybe I'm the only one who can see it. Midoriya sat up on his bed as the panel floated down to his level. He then went to touch it, only to find it glitching when his finger passed through. Ah, so it's not a touch panel. So cool. He then remembered the time the knight statue with the sword swung it down onto him. During the time when both his own family and the family he had bonded to flashed before his eyes, there was a similar notification panel too that had appeared. He still remembers what was written on it. Notification. The secret quest. Hero's will. The text on the notification panel had changed after the box was checked with the completion of the Hero's Will quest. You have acquired the qualifications. To be the 9th player. Will you accept? Your heart will stop in 0.02 seconds. If you choose not to accept, will you accept? Yes, no. Midoriya thought about it for a second and started rambling to himself. I remember this panel. Appearing that time too. It's exactly like a sort of inbox message thingy. I wonder why that happened. Am I hallucinating? Is it something I should be scared of? Or maybe this is the reawakening. The door opened and in entered a cute, purple-haired girl. She was wearing a blue school uniform with a red bow and white bag alongside a deep blue skirt down to her knees. She looked concerned before looking at the young man. Young Jaina? Midoriya blinked. Jaina sighed as she walked closer and put her hands on her hips before leaning towards him, an annoyed and worried expression on her face. You need to take better care of yourself. Do you need how worried I was? Jigo Manasai. Midoriya apologized. You always end up a mess, even when everyone else is fine. Jaina continued, I get worried, okay? You were out for 3 whole days this time. Midoriya sighed and smiled faintly. You really care about a Japanese man who just happens to be your caretaker? The hell you mean? Jaina was annoyed. You are family too now. It doesn't matter if you have a mother back in Japan already. You have 2 families now. Deal with it, Baka Deku. Izuku blinked and said, Are you trying to use Japanese words from anime shows? Jaina huffed and said, Of course I am. I want to learn that language too. But let's not get sidetracked. The next time something like this happens, I'm gonna quit school and get a job so you don't have to be a hunter anymore. The young man chuckled. Sure. I'll make sure this better not repeat ever after this. Jaina sighed before smiling. Well, you seem fine at least. I ought to go. Yeah. Goodbye, said Midoriya, waving at her. Jaina went and closed the door behind her, though not before turning around and pouting. Also, stop calling me young Jaina over and over. I told you, just Jaina is fine. Midoriya's sweat dropped and nodded. Fine. As you wish, young Jaina-san. Jaina's pout increased even more. Not that formality. I have read many subtitles in anime. Call me Jaina-chan or only Jaina. Deku sighed and replied, Fine, Jaina. Jaina smiled before giving a peace sign and closing the door. Outside, a girl wearing the same blue uniform, except with a pink hoodie inside and with yellowish-green eyes, was waiting, leaning her back against the wall right beside the door. Sorry about the wait, said Jaina as the said girl looked at her. Back inside the room, Izuku was looking at the notification panel, trying to wonder how he should read the unread messages, before saying aloud, Read. In an instant, multiple same, turquoise panels opened, surrounding him with different notifications. He looked at each of them, reading the different messages each offered. This system is designed to assist the development of the player. Izuku read to himself, Failure to comply with the system may result in a penalty. The rewards have been delivered? It's as if it is a sort of mobile system or a gaming system. His eyes then wandered over to another notification panel, noticing what was written on it. Notification. Daily quest. Dream plan, strength training has arrived. Izuku blinked at the words and said, Confirm. The notification changed with the panel elongating in size vertically. It then showed different exercises he needed to do daily. Quest info. Daily quest. Dream plan, strength training has arrived. Go. Push-ups 0-100. Sit-ups 0-100. Squats 0-100. Running 0-10 kilometers. Warning, failure to complete. The daily quest will result in an appropriate penalty. Push-ups, sit-ups, squats, running, these are the basic exercises for increasing physical strength of the human body. Midoriya muttered to himself, swiping his finger in the air, a penalty will be dished out if the daily quest is not completed. A buffering loading symbol was at the bottom of the panel with multiple empty slots and only a few slots were filled on the right side. This is quite a lot for me right now. Midoriya continued to ramble on, I can do it tomorrow, after regaining enough strength, but what if the penalty is dished out? Will it be as terrifying as that acceptance of the system that time I saw, where my heart may stop? Does it have a time limit? Do I have enough stamina for them? He continued to ramble on and on about the pros and cons of doing the daily quest given by the system right now, filling the entire room with his words. If I don't complete it, the penalty will be dished out. Will it not spare a beginner or just go as usual? Should I do it? Midoriya continued to mutter, tapping his finger on his chin. Actually, now that I think about it, I won't be able to complete it anyway. I don't have enough stamina and strength to do it. I might start it, but it will be incomplete. I am pretty sure I will be able to complete only one of these exercises and pass out. Which means... The young man plopped himself back down on his bed, looking up at the ceiling with his arms beneath his head. I will be receiving the penalty anyway. He sighed. Basically, I have no choice but to accept my fate for today. I am assuming the penalty will be severe too, since that time back at player selection as the 9th had warned my heart would stop. So this will be probably severe too, not fatal, probably. His eyes then wandered over to the buffering loading symbol, which was still at the bottom of the panel. One of the slots emptied out again. Oh, maybe it's a countdown to when the penalty will start. Izuku sighed and closed his eyes. Fine. I'll accept it for today. Meanwhile, regarding that Japanese hunter, Izuku Midoriya. Jinchul was talking to the chairman in his phone inside a car as Taishik looked at the front with a bored expression, waiting for the traffic signal to go green. It doesn't appear he's had a second awakening, Chairman Go. Jinchul continued. The voice of the chairman spoke up from the other side of the call. I see. We're lucky this incident didn't result in a dungeon break, but something about it, it leaves too many unanswered questions. Right? It's nothing like any previous case, said Jinchul. Even allowing for how dungeons tend to be full of mysteries. I think this'll need to be marked as a special case and entered into the databank for further evaluation, replied Chairman Go. Yes, I understood. Jinchul cut off the call inside while pinching nose. It's gonna be a long day. The traffic signal turned blue, allowing Taeshik to drive the car forward through the streets as Jinchul continued to think about the situation. Inside the city, a gate had opened up in the middle of a busy road. It was surrounded by a barricade put on by the police. A traffic inspector continued to guide the civilians and vehicles around it on the streets. Many people stopped by and started clicking pictures of the opened gate on the road. Whispers and murmurings spread through the crowd. Another gate? Of course it opened in the middle of the Diamond Road too. When are the hunters going to show up? I wish they'd take care of it already. Hospital. Midoriya was sleeping on the hospital bed. It was nighttime and the entire room was quiet save for his own soft breathing. The notification panel opened up in front of him while he slept. The clock on the wall struck midnight as the following notification appeared. Notification. Daily quest. Strength training has arrived. As soon as that appeared, the entire room started shaking up violently. Izuku instantly opened his eyes and sat up. He was sleeping lightly, since the penalty warning was disturbing his mind. An earthquake? He then fell down from his bed. Owie. He opened his eyes, only to see himself in a sort of desert. The sand wasn't too much hot though, which he was grateful for, since he was still wearing his hospital gown. He looked around the endless desert. Is this the penalty? He mused to himself. Soon, a giant caterpillar-shaped shadow loomed over him. Izuku noticed it and gulped his saliva down before turning his head around. There stood a giant caterpillar-like monster, its eyes glowing red and its long tongue dripping with saliva as it stared down at the young man as if he was its prey, which technically, in this situation, he was. A panel opened right above the monster as Midoriya gulped down even more saliva. His eyes widened. It showed the name of the monster in red color. Poison-toothed giant desert centipede. Midoriya was just frozen in shock. He did expect the penalty to be severe, but not this much. This is too much even for a beginner. The notification panel opened to show its contents. Notification. Penalty quest, survival. Go to the 3 hours 59 minutes and 56 seconds 4H. The exact time symbol was at the bottom of the panel, starting the time duration as Midoriya sweated. Are you serious? 4 hours? He exclaimed to himself, shocked at how much time he has to beat. Hospital. One of the nurses went around for checking the patients with a flashlight, when she passed by Midoriya's room and noticed the bed being empty. Huh, the nurse blinked, who had neatly combed hair. Is something wrong? Another nurse appeared beside her, having bangs. The patient from this room, the neatly combed hair nurse spoke up. Penalty zone. Midoriya was running barefoot in the desert with the caterpillar monster in hot pursuit of him. It was surprisingly easier to run on this desert, which didn't exactly sunk his feet down deep into the sand. But that didn't mean it was easier to outrun a creature who can traverse far better than camels. He slid down a mountain as 2 more caterpillar monsters chased him, roaring in the sky. How many of these guys are even there? He exclaimed to himself as he looked up at his system panel. Notification. Penalty quest, survival. Go to the 2 hours 1 minute and 4 seconds 4H. Midoriya gasped in shock and continued to run forward, trying to dodge the giant centipedes. 2 more hours. I didn't knew it was this severe. Hospital. Any sign of him? No. Not where I looked. I think I'll check the room again. The 2 nurses were frantically trying to find Midoriya all around the hospital. It was now late at night and he still couldn't be found anywhere. Good idea, said the nurse with the bangs. I doubt he left the hospital, said the neatly combed nurse. Penalty zone. Deku was running with all his might forward. His muscles were screaming at him and his entire body was heavily sweating through his hospital gown. Come on, come on, come on. He said to himself as he continued to run, watching his timer on Quest info panel. Go to the 9 seconds 4H. Almost. He continued to run, feeling as if Someone was telling him he was doing great till now and only a bit more was needed, which motivated him to continue. He then felt the ground shake right behind him as the giant centipede monster appeared, rising in the air. The young man widened his eyes at the sudden increase in speed. Go to the 2 seconds for each. As the monster loomed closer, with a last push and a yell, Midoriya lunged forward as soon as the timer hit. This caused the desert to disappear and directly teleport Izuku back to the hospital room. He fell down on the ground on his back and panted hard. His entire body hurt. It was even more intense than what he has done to improve his speed for his low rank of E. Especially knowing with the fact that his life was threatened the entire time. He looked up to see the notification panel opening. Notification. Penalty quest, survival. Midoriya panted and gave a small smile, wiping his sweat off his face. Heh, so this is how this system works, huh? The notification changed its contents to a different one, causing Midoriya to raise his eyebrow while panting. Notification. You have received a reward. Penalty quest, survival. Check your reward? Yes, no. The door opened and the nurses were standing there, their flashlights onto his fallen, panting figure. Mr. Midoriya? The duo quickly entered the room towards him, worried. Mr. Midoriya, are you all right? Yeah. Huff, I had a bit of bad dream. Sorry for scaring you two for so long. Midoriya lied while smiling faintly as the nurses tended to him. Skip up. I'm almost healed. Midoriya exclaimed as he wore his blue jacket. He had changed into a more comfortable outfit, which consisted of black shorts with white stripes on the sides, black inner shirt and his blue half-sleeve jacket. Of course, along with them was his signature red shoes. That's a relief. Jinha was talking through the mobile, having called her caretaker to ask for his health in the morning right after he woke up. After all the worry you caused me, I'm expecting to be treated at Chagall. Jaina said, sounding pouty. Sure, Miss Sung Jaina. I'll make sure. Izuku chuckled as he picked up his phone and cut the call. He then left the room, intending to exercise to complete the daily quest. Meanwhile, you and me, for a raid? Juhi talked on her mobile, having someone from the Hunter Association called her for assistance. Yes. A D-rank gate appeared in Hapjeong the other day, and all the guilds have prior engagements, said the person from the other end. I understand if you can't, of course. We understand what you've been through, Hunter Lee. Juhi replied, slightly sad and guilty, I'm sorry. No apologies necessary, said the voice. Oh, that reminds me, I heard that the Japanese hunter Izuku Midoriya has woken up. Juhi became surprised. He has? Asked she, pleasantly surprised. The recovery was quite fast for someone like Midoriya, especially after that incident. However, that was enough for Juhi to have a small smile on her face, finally hearing good news after such an experience. And that also when she was nearing the end of her therapy. Izuku, he's okay. That's so wonderful. Juhi walked through the hospital halls, carrying a small bouquet in her hands. She was still smiling. She remembered how he acted that time when the trio were at their last legs and gripped the handle of the flower basket tightly. He's running again. Juhi snapped out of her trance and looked at the nurse duo, who were standing in front of her near the windows. Honestly, he's been at it every day since regaining consciousness. Juhi followed their gaze to the outside. Down on the exercising field, Midoriya was seen running laps of the field. He was smiling while continuing his lap. Izuku, he's up. Juhi continued to look through the window as the nurses talked among themselves, noting his new, scarred look. I know hunters are supposed to heal faster than normal people, but he says his body feels a lot stiff and needs to be flexible and fit. It's a good thing he at least knows how long he can perform, so we don't have to tell him anything. Still, it's weird that a hunter like him is exercising even though he was badly injured just a few days ago. He's a real handful. Juhi Lee left the place, going back with the bouquet in her hand, gripping the handle tightly. Nobody could say what she was feeling as she went away. Outside, Izuku sighed as he sat down on the bench, panting, but not too much now. It's been only 4 days since I regained consciousness. I figured out a few things regarding my system. The daily quest info window opened up right in front of him in the air above as he looked at it. Quest info. Daily quest. Dream plan, strength training has arrived. Goal. Push-ups 100-100. Sit-ups 100-100. Squats 100-100. Running 10-10 kilometers. Warning, failure to complete. The daily quest will result in an appropriate penalty. First of all, system acts like game mechanics. He thought to himself, completing daily quests gives me 3 different rewards, exactly like how they work in games. The daily quest window changed to a different window, elongating its size to fit the contents. Quest rewards. You got rewards. Full recovery. Ability points plus 3. Random loot box. Accept these rewards? Yes, no. Full recovery, as the name suggests, fully regenerates my body for back to its peak, including exhaustion and tiredness. Izuku wiped off his sweat from his forehead. However, I tend to not use it much and let my body heal normally. Since I have started this new dream plan regime, I have no plans to cheat my way. I'll at least train my body to become fitter than before. Besides, who knows, the full recovery might come in handy in some other ways. Now, on to the 3 ability points. Another window opened up. This time, it was a sort of status window, which was showing the different status of the young man. Status. 1 job. None. Level title. None. Plus MP. HP 100 100 10 10. FIFA 0. Star 18 Vit 10. AGI 12 Int 30. P 10 available. Ability. Points 3. Izuku stared at his stats. The only stat at the highest is my intelligence. I didn't even know I am that smart. It probably is accounting for the hunter analysis for the future analyzation I do occasionally. So, I'll take up the strength. I need it so that I can at least survive situations. I can compensate agility for it. The strength, STR, stat increased by 3, upping to 21 as Izuku used up all of his ability points on his strength stat. His body glowed yellow for a bit before the light died down. It's just like games. The more I upgrade, the stronger I get. Midoriya thought as he looked up to see another window opened up. Maybe I should close my inventory window. It's empty anyway. The inventory window closed as he looked at the skill window. There was something that had caught his mind from day one, when he started tinkering and moving around his system. Skills. Level? Quest? Unknown? Izuku frowned. There was this one skill that had been completely unknown from day one. The system didn't recognize it at all, or maybe he wasn't skilled or upgraded enough to see it, which was another reason he was completing his daily quests hard. He really wanted to see what it would be. I'll get you. Midoriya smiled to himself. He was back on the hospital bed in his room, eating apples provided by the nurses. He was checking his random loot box. He took another juicy bite of the apple as the box spawned on his hand. Let's see what I get today. The box, which was light crimson colored and wrapped around with an orange ribbon, opened up by itself. The lid vanished and a glowing ball, which was releasing a smoky aura, floated up in the air as Izuku looked at it. It then transformed into silver key with a geometric shape. A key! Midoriya blinked. This is the first time he has seen this artifact from the random loot box provided by his system. It then fell down as the young man caught it in his hand. This is quite different. All I was getting were bandages and pens. This is a first. A different window opened up. The item window that shows the info regarding whatever item Izuku holds in his hand. Item, dungeon key. Acquisition difficulty, category. A key for teleporting to an instance. Dungeon. It can be used at exit 3 of the Hapjeong subway station. So it's like a sort of side quest, huh? Midoriya muttered. Well, side quests do tend to help the players level up their stats while doing the normal campaigns. He remembered the face of the god statue, smiling cruelly at them back when they were on its mercy. He then remembers the unknown skill in his system, his curiosity rising every second. He gripped his apple tightly. I will be a hero and save people, no matter the cost. 2 years ago. Mrs. Sung. Come on, wake up. Izuku was kneeling over to the mother of the family, who had collapsed onto the ground. The door behind him slid open and Jaina hurried inside, wearing her school uniform. What happened? Asked Jaina. Your mother. I was helping her with the dishes and she suddenly collapsed, replied Midoriya, holding the woman in his arms. Eternal sleep disease? At the hospital, Midoriya and Jaina had admitted the poor, unconscious woman into one of the rooms. She was put on life support by the doctor by using the help of a bright stone put inside a liquid and kept in a container right beside the bed. The doctor and the nurse stood beside the babysitter and the girl. It's also known as final rest, said the doctor. It's a disease that came into existence with the appearance of the gates. It affects roughly 1 in every several 10,000 people. It's not proven, but theories say that it's caused by continual exposure to mana. In any case, the best that modern medicine can provide is life support. Congratulations. You qualify to become a hunter. Midoriya was standing before the spherical contraption that was designed to measure the qualifications of a civilian who may be able to turn into hunters. The woman who was monitoring smiled at him. We're looking forward to seeing what you can do, said the woman. Don't worry, Jaina-san. I will do my best and let Mrs. Sung get the best treatment modern technology can give, said Midoriya. The duo were back home, talking about the situation. Isn't it dangerous, though? Asked Jaina, worried. Don't you think your own mother would be worried too much? It'll be okay. Just leave it to me, exclaimed Midoriya. Have no fear because I am here. Are you serious, Izuku? A panicked Inko Midoriya's voice was heard coming from Izuku's mobile, who had called to let her know of the current situation. Yes, Mom, replied Izuku. This will allow me to be a hero too. I want to save innocent people. Look, I know I won't be able to convince you out, Inko sighed, but please take care of yourself too. Remember, I allowed you to go to Korea so you can become a hero as a hunter. This full-time caretaking isn't the best way to earn money for the time being, but now that you're adding hunter work to it, I know you will try to overwork. So please be safe, so that I can see my baby boy in one piece when he comes back. Izuku sighed and smiled, replying in an affectionate tone, I will, Mom. Take care of your health too. Get out of the way, Irank. Izuku stumbled back, wearing his old, near-broken gauntlets. 2 Durank hunters came forward and killed the goblin that he was having trouble. Stay out of this if you don't want to get hurt. Demed Irank, slowing us down. Izuku walked away, dejected as the 2 hunters continued forward. Remember, if you don't contribute, you don't get the cut. He sighed and said with a small smile, I am sorry, sir. Current time. Izuku stared out of the window, remembering all of those moments he had experienced ever since he moved to Japan. He finished his apples and scribbled in his notebook, Hunter Analysis for the Future, under a section called the System. Short-term aim, reach the strength comparable to D rank. Long-term aim, be a hero. Extra objective, find out the unknown skill the system is keeping hidden. With that, he closed his notebook and climbed down his bed, putting on his hunter outfit. He neatly fixed his bedsheet and strapped his bag back on his shoulder, looking at his scarred arm for one last time before leaving the room. I'll put my points to strength and agility. Izuku said to himself, his strength going to 28 and his agility going to time skip. Midoriya was standing in front of the entrance to the underground station of Hapjeong. He constantly counted whether he forgot anything. Protein bars, water bottle, my notebook, my utility belt inside my bag with the bandages and rolls of gauze. He thought to himself, looking at the entrance, I think I am ready now. Since his previous gauntlets were torn off back at the double dungeon, he was saving up money to buy new ones. And so, he was going to fight solely relying on the system's strength provided to him. He pulled out the silver key from his pocket, which had a blue electricity crackle around for a second, before a bronze-colored lock glitched in the reality in front of him, causing him to look at it in awe. All right, Izuku. Let's do this. Midoriya said to himself as he put the key into the lock and turned it clockwise. The signboard above the subway entrance started crackling with blue electricity. In a few seconds, the reality right in front of him glitched and expanded block by block to open up a sort gate, bordered by concrete. In front of him was a blue light-like entrance overlapping the subway entrance. Whoa, so this is how a gate is supposed to look according to this system? So cool, Midoriya muttered to himself as he entered the gate. So, it uses real-world places as its base and overlaps them with a sort of different dimension, joining them together. Does it have some sort of time limit? Can anyone else see this? Wait, won't people be suspicious of a teleporting gate in the place of a subway entrance? Another notification panel opened up, causing Izuku to snap out of his muttering spree as he looked at it to notice the contents. Notification. You have entered the instance dungeon. Izuku stared at it before hearing a squishing sound from behind him. He turned around to see the dungeon entrance, getting closed up with a thicker color. He quickly ran up to it as it completely closed. They gave the dungeon entrance crack-like designs. He touched it to feel it. So this dungeon is blocking me out from the outside world, said Midoriya. Suddenly, a woman came beside him, looking at her phone and went out of the gate easily, which confused the young man as he touched the barricade again and finally realized what was happening. It was the answer to his muttering earlier. So this dungeon won't allow me but others to pass through, said Izuku as he sighed, which means this dungeon to the outside world is completely invisible. That's a good thing to hear. This means this really is a different dimension. Instance dungeons aren't like the regular gates, huh? Another notification window opened up, causing him to turn his head and look at the new contents this time. Notification. You cannot exit the dungeon. You must either defeat the boss or use a teleportation stone. So I can't leave the dungeon unless and until I clear it myself. Izuku muttered to himself, either that or this teleportation stone. It's like one of those games which have forced tutorials for the players to reach the minimum level to actually start the playing. He looked at his scarred hands and clenched them into fists. The feeling of being weak before once again coursed through his body as he pushed them down forcibly. I know I couldn't even beat E-rank beasts before, let alone save people, he said to himself as he looked at the dark staircase. That doesn't mean I am going to stand back, especially after receiving this new power. I will use it if it wants me to. He started walking down the stairs, taking deep breaths. He will have to clear this dungeon all alone without any healers. He started walking through the dark subway turn dungeon, looking around the lonely grounds. It's not like he wasn't scared, he was, but not as much as he used to be back then. The ceiling broke and down jumped a goblin with black hair, surprising the young man. Two more joined it. All of them were wearing armors as Midoriya got into a stance, his system showing the names of the enemies in orange. Goblin. Thanks for the obvious, said Midoriya, frowning. The goblins rushed towards him, intending to slice him up. He started dodging their attacks, parrying with them with his own hands. It was tough, considering he had no protection on himself. One of the goblins slashed his hand, but he didn't flinch. Instead, he grabbed the blade tightly, yanking it off and grabbed the face of the goblin, smashed him onto the ground. The shockwave blew away slightly the other goblins as the one in Deku's hands instantly died. He smiled, feeling more confident now that he can beat these weak monsters with just his bare hands. He picked up the goblin's sword and started parrying with the other two goblins, who had composed themselves back. He kicked away one of them, who had slashed off the straps of his bag and threw it away and slashed the other one's head, causing the dagger to get stuck to it. Before the other goblin could get up, Deku picked up the goblin's sword he just killed with the first one's sword and threw it hard at the remaining one, causing its head to get separated from the body. Deku sighed and smiled, proud of himself. I knew it. I can definitely become stronger. Just great. He went and picked up his bag, when suddenly, a big crimson-colored wolf came out from beside the wall, causing him to react quickly in shock and hold out his bag, letting it tear it off and threw it away. Izuku looked at the wolf, who had what seemed to be metal lower jaws and sweated, feeling a small fear creep up again. Its eyes were glowing red. The name of the monster was shown by the system right in front of him. Steel-fanged Leakin? I can sense it, he thought to himself. This one is far stronger than those goblins. The Leakin then suddenly lunged at him, causing him to react 1 microsecond late, which earned him a slight slash on his cheek right over his scar. He gritted his teeth as the beast turned around and once again lunged at him, fangs ready to tear apart the human who dared to step into this place. Midoriya sweated as the steel-fanged Lycan roared and lunged towards him. He quickly flipped backward and then using the nearby closed shutter as a foothold, launched himself towards the other side of the beast, putting some distance between him and the Lycan, showcasing great agility of his body. Guess I was right. Only strength will be useless if I can't even dodge in a fight at all. Deku muttered to himself as he gave a small, proud smirk. I am really getting stronger. The Lycan turned around and shot towards the young man, its steel-fanged jaws ready to rip his body into multiple pieces, its saliva dripping down from its mouth. Deku then swung his right foot hard at it, delivering a powerful roundhouse kick which led to the beast crashing onto a nearby closed shutter. No, actually, it's much better than I expected, said Deku as he turned to face the Lycan again, taking a stance. This will help me practice the new shoot-style kicking technique I have been teaching myself to see how better I can fare now. The beast shook its head and got ready to once again lunge at the young green-haired prey, who stood firm in his place, sweating but not flinching. It then shot itself forward at him. Deku readied his fist this time and started punching its face to keep it away from him each time it came closer to tearing the flesh of the human. It's not much. I need to continue my assault on it if I want a chance at beating it, Deku said to himself in his mind as he continued to punch its face. All it did was make it angrier and slightly stagger backwards. The wolf then dodged one of his punches and lunged at his face, prompting the young man to quickly react and dodge to the side, leading to the beast crashing onto the closed shutter behind. However, this time, the beast was completely fine. In fact, it had chomped onto the shutter itself and spitted out the broken metal piece from its steel jaws. Its eyes continued to glow crimson-red brightly in the shadows, the evil and ferociousness evident in the look. Deku gulped, continuing to sweat as he finally realized why the system had called it steel-fanged Lycan. A single capture of its jaws would be stronger than even a crocodile's. Deku thought to himself as he turned to his side and started running, prompting the beast to follow him while growling, I need to do something quick. All I need to do is to break the steel jaws and he would be reduced to just a wolf. But how? The Lycan swiped at him, causing him to backflip and land far behind the steel-fanged Lycan, though not without getting another slash, this time at his leg. I need anything strong with magic energy to hurt it, Deku exclaimed in his mind when he suddenly realized something. Hold on a second. That's it. Inventory, open up. The inventory window opened up in front of him in the air. He held out his hand towards it, causing turquoise electricity to crackle as a small portal opened. He slid his hand in and grabbed onto a handle, pulling it out. The Lycan jumped at him at high speeds. The scarred young man pulled out the handle fully to reveal a sword. With a yell, he swung it down at the beast, causing it to be slashed into two pieces horizontally. It fell down on the ground behind Deku, while its blood spewed out, staining the blade wielded by the young man. I had forgotten about it completely, said Izuku, remembering how he had discovered it while checking the inventory for the first time 4 days ago. I remember Kim-san saying he paid 3 million for it. That's something I can't ever afford. 2 notification windows opened up in front of him, which made him curious as he leaned on to see the contents. Notification. You have defeated a steel-fanged Lycan. Notification. Leveled up. Deku blinked in pleasant surprise. Oh, I leveled up finally. Awesome. While he continued to be in surprise, the cut on his cheek and on his leg started to smoke. 2 seconds later, the wounds had completely healed up. This just added more surprise to the young man, who wondered how in the world did he healed without requiring any healer. Neither the system mentioned of anything like that nor had he seen anything related to it. He then heard growls and footsteps. He then looked up to see 2 more Lycans coming closer to him, saliva dripping down. He pulled his sword out of the ground and got ready for round the Lycans ran towards him, leading to him swinging his sword at them. One of them dodged and got far behind Deku. The other one caught the sword in its steel jaws, causing Deku to try and push it back with his strength. He kneed the wolf directly at its chin. This sword is all I have, yelled Deku. As he finally pushed the sword through the wolf and sliced off its head, chew on bones that aren't mine. The corpse of the beast fell down on the ground with his sliced-off head falling right beside it and staining the ground with its blood. The other Leakin stood still, flinching back a bit. Deku stood up and looked at it. Come on. I am not scared, said Deku as if trying to taunt it. The beast, in response, took a step backward and turned around, running away into the darkness, leaving the young man behind. Deku sighed as he went and sat down on the ground, leaning his back against one of the closed shutters and rested his sword beside him. The status window opened up in front of him, confirming that he did indeed leveled up, sitting at level, knew it. This means that I can finally keep up with the beasts I just fought more easily. Deku muttered, noticing the status window. Status. 2 job. None. Level title. None. Plus MP. HP 2 2200 and 2020. Fig 3. S tier. 29 vit. 11. AGI. 14 int. 31. P. 11 available. Ability. Fs. 0. So, I am guessing that this changes when I am in real combat. The experience probably is more from it. Deku continued to mutter, because I remember it not changing when I did my daily quests. And the healing from before. I am guessing it has something to do with leveling up. And all of my stats go by 1 during each leveling. He looked at his stats again and started some calculations to gauge his system's point mechanics. A total of 5 points are given to me, equally distributed. Daily quests give me 3 points, which means combat is far more efficient. Got this from just 2 lichens. So, if I do this every day, getting 5 from combat and 3 from daily, I can stack up to 56 in 1 week, enough for me to finally rival a D rank. He continued to stare at his stats and clenched his scarred right hand. It's a good thing I spread out each of the points to different skills instead of staying only at strength. Agility and perception are really needed too. He then remembered something and looked at the corpses of the beasts he had killed. He went and knelt down right beside the decapitated half-head of the Leakin. I wonder if they have any essence stones, muttered Deku as he went to touch its body. As soon as he did, the item window opened beside him, prompting him to look at it, diverting his attention from the headless body of the Leakin. Item, Leakin Fong. Acquisition difficulty, category, none miscellaneous. A Leakin's large, sharp Fong. It can be sold in the shop. Oh, so I get items like loots instead of essence stones. Cool, said Deku as he opened his inventory and pulled out the Leakin's Fong from it. If this system really follows a game, then that means that the ones here are different from the normal dungeon ones. But it's fine. I'll get the hang of it soon. Another window opened up, the store. This intrigued Deku pleasantly as he looked at it. Oh, there's a store too. So cool. Deku exclaimed, buy. Buy sell. You cannot buy anything at your level. Deku pouted. Oh wow. So beginners get thrown into horrible situations but not get to buy stuff? Sounds mean to me. Fine, I'll play by your rules. Sell. The sell option blinked on screen as the Leakin's Fong from Deku's hand disappeared. On screen at the bottom right was written 10, presumably the amount of credits. Or in this case, gold. The number increased to 20 gold, huh? I wonder if gold here is worth the same as the real-life ones. Deku muttered, then again, this resembles an E-rank dungeon, so 20 gold can't be worth that much. Besides, I doubt I can use it outside the system. He wrapped some bandages around his hands, covering the fingers to create makeshift gloves, not having any gloves at the current moment. He stood up and dusting his clothes, picked up the sword. Alright, let's see. A teleportation stone will get me out, but I have no idea where to find them. Deku muttered to himself, I have to level up first before going against the boss. I need to find more of these lichens and goblins to beat. He heard a growl and turned his head to the other end of the corridor, where the previous Leakin which had ran away was now standing, growling with its red eyes glowing bright. And behind it, multiple red eyes appeared in the darkness as the system detected multiple steel-fanged Leakin. All of them were now growling, saliva dripping down. Should have known you act like the real ones too. Deku readied his sword, bringing your entire pack with you. Makes it easier for me to level up. Come on, you steel mutts. With that, the lichens started rushing towards the young man, their steps shaking the corridor as Deku ran towards them, yelling equally loud. As soon as both sides came closer, Deku started with a kick, smashing away one of them before slashing another lichen's face. One bit on his jacket, causing him to elbow it, but it dodged and joined its remaining allies, surrounding him while growling. I don't know much about swordsmanship, said Deku, tightening his hold on his sword, but I guarantee whatever less I know, alongside my fists, they will be enough for matching all of you. He readied his stance, remembering all of the previous events that happened with him. You qualified to become a hunter. Don't worry, I will take care of you and Mrs. Sung. I will become a hero, so that no one worries about me anymore. With that, Midoriya swung his sword hard, slashing off the lichens' faces. He then stuck the sword into the ground and using it as a pole, revolved around it, kicking some of them away. He then pulled it out and threw at another beast, piercing two simultaneously instead as the other one had mistakenly got behind it. I wasn't joking back then. Notification. You have leveled up. Now with only his fists and kicks, he started smashing away the remaining beasts, not caring to use the sword anymore. Rotating his body to land precise but powerful kicks, he constantly clashed with the metallic jaws of the beasts, not caring if the pain hurts him. Notification. You have leveled up. If this system wants me to grow stronger, I will use it on my path to being a hero. Notification. You have leveled up. No matter what, I will help everyone with a smile on my face. Notification. You have leveled up. With each smash, Deku's motivation continued to grow stronger. Each punch, each kick that was sent to the lichens' ways, they were all filled with determination and the willingness to sacrifice to be the wall that people can rely on. He didn't even notice how much easier it was starting to get to beat them up, solely because he was focused to analyzing the lichens' movements and clashing against them, that he ignored all of the leveling up notifications. With a final punch to last beast to the ground, he sent out a giant shockwave, killing it instantly as the battle finally ended after a long hour. He panted hard, his body now fully healed due to the constant leveling up. He dropped to the ground on his butt, breathing hard as another notification appeared in his vision. Notification. You have acquired. Title, Wolf Assassin. Not something I would like to add to my name, but I guess it's fine. Izuku muttered as he continued to rest. His entire body was stained with the blood of the dead lichens alongside his sword, which was now covered in scratches. Sword's not gonna last much longer. It's a good thing I used my fists and kicks though. He then stood back up and dusted his clothes. He picked up his sword and looked back at the corpses of the lichens, which lay on the ground, the blood splattered around. I guess that no matter how much expensive they are, weapons are still disposable, thought Midoriya. I guess I need physical strength and speed to last more than weapons. A new window opened, causing the green young hero to look at it curiously. This was a new one, with contents different from the previous. And it seemed related to the title he got earlier. Title, Wolf Assassin. A title given to those skilled at hunting wolves. Animal-type monsters. All abilities plus 40%. I am not sure I know what that is. Midoriya blinked. Did I got some sort of boost against only animal-type monster? Maybe. He then opened up the inventory window to see the loot drops he had gotten from killing so many lichens. He definitely got a whole lot. Let's see, 34 wolf fangs, 2 worn daggers, a traveler's cloak, an HM? The teleportation stone. Izuku exclaimed after counting all of his loot. That's a relief. Alright, 34 wolf fangs. That Fong earlier gave me 10 more gold to the already minimum 10, so I'll get 340 gold more. Means a total of, if the gold works in the shop inside the system, then what will I be able to buy? I wonder. He continued to ramble, doing the calculations and thinking of the possibilities the system's shop would give him. All while he juggled the green-colored teleportation stone in his left hand. Could it have weapons? What if it has healing stuff? That'd be so cool. Izuku exclaimed as he looked at the teleportation stone. I wonder what will happen to this dungeon once I use this. Will it disappear without a trace? I am tempted to find it, but I don't think I am going to use this bad boy right now. He smiled and put the stone into his inventory, letting the system gulp it down into its pit. I have no intention of escaping right now. If there are more of the lichens, I might level up more. Izuku said as he walked down the corridor. Besides, what kind of a hero will I be if I can't even take on dangers or risks? Meanwhile, Juhi was walking down the streets in her red coat when she received a phone call. She opened her red bag on her waist and pulled her phone out. She accepted the call and placed it on her ear. Hello, this is Lee Juhi. Juhi spoke into the call, from the Hunters Association. I apologize about the other day. She then stopped at the footpath after hearing from the other end of the call. There was a dungeon break at the gate. That's nearby. Small guilt filled her conscience as she remembered the offer the other day and mentally berated herself. If I hadn't turned down that offer? The person in charge on the other end of the call spoke up. We've been assembling free hunters to deal with it, but there's such a shortage of healers. Juhi stayed silent, her eyes hidden by her hair. She wanted to reject so badly, but then she remembered watching Izuku exercising the other day outside the hospital on the field down below. He still had that determined look. If not, he looked more determined that day. Her lips shook as she finally answered back, I understand. If her friend can do it, then so can Shito also. Where's the harm in trying? Back at the dungeon. Izuku smashed away at a monstrous monkey, which was named as a razor-clawed Briga in his system. He threw his sword at another monster, a dog-looking creature which was named as Black Shadow Raisin in his system. The higher I level up, the more easier it is becoming to defeat these beasts. Izuku thought as he kicked away another Black Shadow Raisin into a nearby wall, killing it. He stopped to catch his breath as he looked at his surroundings. The sword he threw was still stuck to the earlier raisin, which he pulled out. He then inspected the damage to it. It is still scratched only and no cracks, so I guess I have still better chance at defeating the boss. Izuku muttered as he looked at the dead monsters and then at the names his system showed. The color of the text describing them has changed. If my guess is correct, white is weak. Orange means equal to me. And red means out of my league. Well, I think I have grown more stronger, since the lichens at first had red, but are now white. He continued to walk more down the corridor, clutching his sword tight as he surveyed the surroundings. Following his perception ability, he walked towards a staircase leading down into the subway and gulped. Something's down there, and it's definitely not weak. Izuku muttered, maybe it's the boss. He opened up his status window and looked at it, observing the new changes given to him. Status: 15 job. None. Level title: none. Plus MP. HP 11 10 11 63 200 200. Fatigue 30. STR 41 Vit 29. AGI 30 Int 49. 20 available. Ability: 0. Well, this seems the end of me gaining any more EXP. Izuku sighed, meaning I have no other choice than to finally confront the boss. I still have no idea why my intelligence is so high from the start. Was I really that much smart? He then put his sword down beside and sat down on the stairs, sighing and looking at the darkness looming at the end of the staircase. Let me lower my fatigue to at least 20 and then I'll go down. If I go right now, I'll risk myself passing out faster. Izuku thought as he looked at his inventory. Meanwhile, I think I should check on my drops one more time so that I can find anything that's worth for the upcoming battle. He checked his entire inventory, finding only the ones he got earlier. Traveler's Cloak, worn-out daggers, wolf fangs, teleportation stone and nothing else. The number of wolf fangs were now increased he continued to look at them, drinking water from his bottle from his bag. For 10 minutes, he sat still, not moving much and just calculating all the possibilities for the upcoming battle. Strategizing about how to properly utilize the sword this time. He has been swinging it blindly and throwing it at the enemies this entire time. The boss isn't someone he can mess around. He will have to rely a lot, and by that he meant a lot, on his strength and agility to pull off any miracle. All this while, His fatigue reduced till he continued to plan when he noticed it finally and blinked. Oh. It reduced one step more. Izuku stood back up and picked up his sword. With that, he started walking down the stairway of the subway, steeling his nerves for what he describes in his mind as his first actual dangerous fight ever since he got the system by unknown means. Each step he took just continued to fill him up with anxiety and nervousness. The staircase, which normally was long enough for only a 3-minute walk down, felt like half an hour to him. After finally what seemed like eternity, Midoriya reached down the subway and looked around. It was dark and invaded with moss and tree branches. The train tracks were filled with water. It looked something out of a horror slasher movie or something from the found footage movies like the Blair Witch Project. I did enter the right place, right? Izuku asked himself nervously as he looked around the horrific place. It looks a lot like Silent Hill. 1 minute I am in my own dimension and the next moment, I am in the other world. Suddenly, a fast ripple zoomed through the waters on the tracks, causing Izuku to barely miss the huge blue tail which smacked him towards the wall behind him, snapping his sword instantly and knocking the wind out of him. Too fast. Izuku thought as he coughed and looked in front of him, where the water rose up and soon cleared out to reveal a gigantic snake-like monster. Are you serious? Even after all that leveling up, its name is still Orange. True to his fears, the monster, which was a gigantic snake-looking creature, was recognized by the system with an orange name instead of white. King of the Swamp Blue Venom-Fanged Kasaka? So, this means this dungeon was specifically formed to let me level up and be equal with the boss. Does this mean this system is testing me? He thought as he stood up and looked at the scales of the Kasaka. No way is this handicapped sword going to do anything to those armored scales. Does this mean only my smashes are the way? There's no way I can even dent this guy. He stood up and readied himself with a stance, the broken sword in his left hand. The Kasaka, seeing this as an invitation to finally begin the fight, launched itself towards him, who quickly used his right foot and kicked it, changing its direction slightly and using the sword to do even a small bit of damage. The way it's attacking by throwing its weight at this speed, it is really acting like a snake. Izuku tried to do even a small dent, but nothing happened. The Kasaka turned around, and revolving its head around the air to gain momentum, once again lunged at the young man. Izuku quickly dodged it and started running towards the other end of the subway, only for the monster to use its tail and attack him from the front, catching him off guard and launching him towards itself. It then smacked him away into the water with its tail skillfully. Midoriya tried to swim out of the waters, only for the beast to drag him out and smack him away again at blitzing speeds. He fell down on the ground, rolling away with the broken sword out of his hand. In a second, the Kasaka launched the train on tracks at the young man, who widened his eyes and jumped away quickly in desperation. The impact caused him to crash into the nearby wall. Is this what the high-ranked hunters deal every day? He thought as he quickly got up and took his broken sword back before the Kasaka launched itself at him, causing him to try his best to block and use his own strength. However, all it did was just make the beast throw the poor young man away. He tried to stop himself to take a glance, but even that wasn't granted, as the beast smacked him away onto the nearby pillar. Izuku fell away, sprawling onto the ground. He panted hard. His nose was broken. No, I can't lose now, I have come so far. He stood up, panting. All my life, all I wanted was to help others. But all I realized was that unless you have strength, unimaginable strength, skills won't help much. He clenched his fist as he looked at the Kasaka, which was looming over him. He didn't notice the red energy lines which started gathering at his legs. I don't care what happens to me. I will become a hero. Deku declared, determined, I will save people. Notification. Skill quest. 9 generations. Reward received. Fall. Deku crouched down on the ground as the red energy veins laced the legs. He then jumped with what he could describe as the most fastest speed he has ever achieved even with the system enhancements. He zoomed towards the Kasaka's face, causing it to widen its eyes in shock at the sudden speed and clenched his right fist, causing the same red energy veins to cover it and cause his skin to glow bright yellow. The entire sleeve tore off from the intense energy. A voice called out from his mind as Deku closed onto the beast. Clench your buttocks, kid. And yell it from the depths of your heart. Smash! With a mighty yell, Deku punched the monster away, blowing away the head. The impact was enough to damage the entire body of the beast, breaking away all of the armored scales. The entire subway shook with the impact as the Kasaka's decapitated head flew through the multiple walls, having been flattened by the attack. Deku looked at it in shock as he fell down on the separated body of the Kasaka on the ground. Deku was speechless. Never in his entire life had he seen such power. Even the hunters he knows, the S-rank ones, had never showed this level of strength. He looked at his right arm, which was now mangled up. The bones were completely shattered. And his legs were no good too. They were now completely noodles. Not a single bone or joint remained intact. The injuries were something akin to surviving a fall from a high-story building. This never happened before, said Deku, still in shock as the adrenaline finally wore off, but he was in too much shock to even register the pain. He fell down on the headless corpse of the Kasaka, just stunned and shocked to his core. Multiple notifications appeared, making him finally snap out of his trance as he looked at them. All of them were leveled up notifications. This helped him heal back up. He winced as all the bones went back to their respective places and joints. He could just feel them all. The smash really turned all his bones in the arm to become powder. His legs were now fine and intact. What happened? Deku asked himself as he looked at a notification window. Notification. You have defeated a King of the Swamp, Blue Venom-fanged Kasaka. Deku sighed as he looked at his feet, where now there lay a fiery-looking small sword. It had design fitting for snake theme. He picked it up and inspected it. Got something nice too, said Deku as he looked at the item window. Item, Kasaka's Venom Fang. Acquisition difficulty, category, C-rank dagger, EK plus 25. Paralysis, opponent cannot move for a set time. Drain, HP minus 1% 1 second. A dagger made from a Kasaka's Venom Fang. It contains Kasaka venom. Paralysis and drain effects. That would be quite helpful, said Deku as he turned to the other window. This one, however, is a different story. Item, Kasaka's Venom Gland. Acquisition difficulty, category, rank poison. Kasaka's armor scales, physical damage minus 20%. Damaged muscle, STR minus 35%. This pouch contains refined Kasaka poison. On rare occasions you can harvest this from a Kasaka. Once you drink it, your skin will harden, but your muscles will be permanently damaged from the poison. No thank you very much, said Midoriya, sweat dropping. I'd rather have my normal skin. Another notification window appeared, causing him to turn his head at it. It was the very same notification he had ignored previously when blowing away the beast's head. Notification. Skill quest. 9 generations. Reward received. Fault. Skill quest. Izuku realized what it was. Wait a second. Is this that mystery skill? I already got it. He checked his skill window to confirm, and indeed, the mystery skill was now revealed to be this new one for all. Alright. I got it. Deku gleefully exclaimed, let's see what it is. One for all. Acquisition difficulty, category, S-rank meta ability, ATK plus, Def plus, -1 for all, increases user's strength and physical prowess. All abilities increase by plus, damaged body, ATK and Def minus 98%. 1 for all is a special ability. It can give the user incredible superhuman strength in any part of their body, but if the body isn't properly strong enough to handle it, the limbs will blow off. The user's body needs to be strong through natural training. The system's enhancements to the user will not help mitigating the criteria. Since it's technically not a skill, user can activate it separately at any time and any place at will. Should I be worried? Izuku asked to himself nervously, sweating heavily as watched the contents. There's no way my body still isn't strong enough. I have been training for 2 to 3 weeks and fulfilling the daily quests every day. How is it possible? He sat up and pondered over it. There's absolutely no way his body isn't strong enough to handle this new meta ability. He has trained hard the entire month, completing his daily quests regularly. He even started growing abs on his body. Albeit he had figured out the more he completed daily quests and leveled, the faster his body grew. Unless, hold on a sec, user's body needs to be strong through natural training. Izuku realized it and slapped his forehead. Of course, all this time, my body was being trained by the system, so it's technically stronger than before, but this one for all requires me to train it myself. Oh, great. This means that I will have to actually do more workout than the normal ones I do. He groaned. He does some extra workouts too, like hand gripping, air chair exercise, air kicks, etc. But since they were small to affect his body completely, he will have to do extra heavy workouts for many days or even months to buff himself. The ones a completely normal human does. Fine. I accept your challenge. Midoriya sighed. Taking up this criteria as a challenge, I will use it sooner or later. You'll see. He was glad for one thing though. He can use this one for all at will without resorting to the system, so it's kind of like two separate powers. He'll definitely analyze it better from now on, having seen its effect at full power. It's definitely a power that has unimaginable potential, given the fact his buffs had unknown percentage increase. Another window opened up, causing the young man to look at it. It was a notification window. Notification. As the boss has been defeated, the dungeon will now revert to its original state. Before the young man could say anything, the headless corpse of the Kasaka started glowing and soon, the entire place vanished in a bright glow and soon, he was standing on the platform of the normal, original subway station. He looked around, seeing that everything was back and that the dungeon did disappeared. Well, let's get going then. Izuku put his Kasaka dagger into his inventory and picking up his broken sword, started to walk back up, leaving the platform where he had just fought for his life, behind. All while he forgot about the voice from earlier. Minutes later, he reached the exit of the Hapjeong metro station. It was nighttime and raining. The streets were all empty and quiet with no sign of life. No people, not even street dogs or stray cats who usually occupy the alleys. This surprised the young green-haired man as he continued to blink and look around the surroundings. Look like no one's around? Is it midnight already? Izuku muttered to himself, I wish the dungeon dimensions didn't follow real-life timings. Excuse me. You can't go in there. A police officer holding an AR-15 assault with a stock similar to an LMG's walked up to him. He was wearing a body armor and helmet for protection. Didn't you hear the broadcast? Asked the officer. Broadcast? Midoriya blinked. What happened? Come on, don't play around, the officer started when his eyes fell onto Izuku's hand, which was clutching the broken sword and the torn sleeve of his jacket. Wait, are you a hunter? Yeah. I am, answered Midoriya. The soldier quickly stood still and said, My apologies, then. Let me show you to the battle. This way, please. Oh, sure thing. Midoriya replied. The soldier walked down the streets slowly as Midoriya followed him. He looked around city as he saw multiple broken cars and what seemed to be corpses of dead magical beasts. The sight instantly gave him the answer to the current ghoulish sight of the city. I see. A dungeon break. Izuku said, no wonder this place was so quiet, like something out of Silent Hill. When did this begin? Just a few hours ago, replied the officer. It's mostly taken care of, but there's one big one left. Izuku nodded. He could feel the danger of the big one from the other side of the nearby building due to his high perception at a beast quite big and probably not too much weak. The soldier managed to take Midoriya to the said place, where he looked at the monster in awe. There were many hunters on site, all of them trying their best to finish it off but in vain. A large crowd were standing there, looking at the monster with some clicking pictures. More officers were present there, doing their best to keep the civilians in safe zone. A kaiju! Izuku exclaimed, surprised. Well, maybe a golem kaiju? It was a golem with bright blue essence glowing onto it. It was as big as a big building. The hunters weren't able to do much, still trying their best. The green-haired young man observed the situation properly. A haphazard combination of a team. Izuku observed the hunters. I don't blame them for having problems. 8 E ranks and 2 D ranks. 1 D rank is tank. No wonder the fight is being a stalemate the entire time. There aren't proper infantries for offense. Among the healers, 2 D ranks and a B rank. Wait a sec, B rank? Midoriya blinked. He wasn't imagining. It was indeed Juhi Lee on scene, though it seemed she was more frozen in fear than joining the fight. One of the fighters, a woman with a crossbow, turned back at her, frustrated. You need to help someone. Aren't you a B rank healer? Asked the woman. Don't just stand there. Alright, replied Juhi as she faced her both of her palms to the front in the air, a golden glyph forming with a triangle. Seriously, stay focused, said the woman. Juhi did. She did her best. She really did. She focused hard. She closed her eyes to focus hard, only for the image of that god statue back with its creepy evil, sinister smile to flash once again in her mind and make her widen her eyes in fear. This was enough to cause the healing glyph to glitch and disappear. Deku watched it and felt bad for the poor girl. He could easily see how much shaken up she is. Even though so much time has passed ever since the incident, it still terrified her to the core. He won't deny he didn't get small flashbacks, even after growing out of it. He then looked at the hunters fighting in vain and clenched his fists. Deku then started walking backwards and ready his right hand, which was still clutching the broken sword tightly. It's a D-rank boss. It'll be fine. He told himself mentally, if I break just the defenses for them, then even an E-rank with an expensive weapon can kill it. He readied his weapon, but then remembered something. 1 for all amplifies all of his physical power significantly. It can give him a confirmed kill shot. So, he activated it, causing his right hand to glow with the same red energy veins. But, if I do this, he looked at his arm, remembering what happened back, my entire arm will blow off again. And neither I have full recovery available nor will I level up after hitting this kaiju to heal up. He wondered what to do and decided to check onto the skill once again, opening the skill section again. 1 for all. Acquisition difficulty. Category. S-rank meta ability quirk. ATK plus. Def plus. -1 for all. Increases user's strength and physical prowess. All abilities increase by plus. Damage recoil. ATK and def minus 98%. 1 for all is a special ability. It can give the user incredible superhuman strength in any part of their body, but if the body isn't properly strong enough to handle it, the limbs will blow off. The user's body needs to be strong through natural training. The system's enhancements to the user will not help mitigating the criteria. Since it's technically not a skill, the user can activate it separately at any time and any place at will. Separate activation amplification. Recoil. Deku muttered, his eyes moving rapidly, when he noticed something, any part of the body? So that would mean that currently the power is active only on my right arm. So that means... He looked at his fingers on his right hand, which were gripping the sword tight. I can power up only my fingers and get away with just small fractures. With that, Midoriya gripped the sword at the extreme of the handle, using only 4 of his fingers alongside his thumb. He brought his arm behind. Energy, electricity, back there? Remembering the smash he did back there in the dungeon, he surmised quickly, an egg in a microwave, not exploding. Just gotta increase the heat but only enough to make the egg to its limit, but not make it burst out. Repeating it and imagining the metaphor visually in his mind, Izuku took a stance with his arm behind, gripping the sword tightly. Remember, the egg will not explode. Izuku yelled in his mind as he brought his arm forward, his fingers glowing up at the last second. Smash! With a powerful throw, powering his fingers at the last moment of impact, he threw the broken sword straight at the giant. A huge shockwave launched it at blinding speeds, the handle crashing onto the golem and not only breaking the defenses but breaking a giant part of its head. The hunters down immediately noticed it, finally getting the required edge for their victory. Its defenses are down. Take it down now. With that, all of hunters started attacking it with their weapons. And true to it, the defenses were completely down, so it was so weak now, a single slash created a chain of explosions in its body. After just 10 seconds, the entire golem kaiju fell down on the ground, finally defeated by the low-ranked hunters. We did it, we actually did it. One of the hunters, the D-rank tank, looked at the now fallen down golem. None of our attacks were working. What suddenly shattered its defense and blew off a part of its face? It wasn't us. We weren't doing any damage at all. What was that thing that came flying? The man looked at the object, which was the broken sword fallen on the ground. Except the blade was now completely broken into pieces and the handle was completely crushed and compacted into a small structure. The tank looked at it nervously. A boss-level golem that over 10 people couldn't scratch got taken down by that? Thought the man. The man looked at the officer who came there a few seconds earlier as the other hunters got tended to by the other officers. The crowd had dispersed by now, only a few remaining behind. "Excuse me," the man called out to the officer, who looked at him. He pointed at the shattered and compacted sword on the ground. "Who threw that broken sword?" "Oh, it was the hunter who—" The officer turned around, only to see no one. "Huh? He was just—" The tank man sweated with wide eyes hearing this. What incredible power! Was it some high-ranked hunter? Meanwhile, Izuku walked down the alleyway, his right sleeve torn and his fingers of his right hand bruised and broken, excluding the pinky finger. He stopped and turned around, looking at the sight one last time. "I went a bit overkill," he said to himself. "They already weakened it a lot. My attack just went beyond. Maybe only my normal system enhancement was enough." With that, Izuku walked away, having finished his day with not only his daily quests, the dungeon and 2 powerful bosses, but also getting a new ability and managing to join the team in saving the civilians from the golem attack. All while, Ju-Hee looked at the empty spot of the now almost dispersed crowd. She may be only a healer, but even she has good eyes when it comes to things like this. "Izuku," she said to herself, having trouble to conclude whether this is just a joke or an imagination or just side effects from her trauma as the rain continued to pour down on this silent town.